Chants find everywhere platforms. I'll be in here for a little bit today, chilling. This is going to be, I'm only planning for it to be just me in here hanging out, but I'll drop the link in the comments if anybody pops through here. Obviously, anybody's welcome to get involved in the conversation as long as you're not trying to flash the stream. That'd be greatly appreciated. Like I've been saying the last few times, I'm trying to learn this algorithm a little bit, and I did some content with another creator. Shout out to Bully the Bully. Go find him and check out his content. But he said you got to say the title. You got to make sure to hit that. So the algorithm and the AIs and all that. So they put you in the right place. They put you in front of the right people. So today, for sure, you can fucking bet your bottom dollar unless we get hit by an EMP. Bernie Sanders. I'm planning on watching that video where he addresses the Big Beautiful Bill, or am I? Because actually I don't have it in here, but I know that's on this computer and I'll find it. This is a sketchy one to say at the beginning of the stream here, because this might get our entire stream moved into the recycling bin on YouTube. But death to the IDF, Chants, causing some censorship issues, causing some straight, damn, I put a $sign in the title. That will be fixed in the future. If you're watching this, hopefully I fixed that. But yeah, the death to the IDF, Chants, they're going crazy. That was at the Glastonbury Festival. Bob Villain, hey, this might have been, he's had some consequences from this, which we'll talk about, and we're gonna probably react to a Piers Morgan video where they discuss this a little bit. But he's had some serious backlash as far as like in the UK, specifically in the United States. Big surprise there. As far as like his visa being taken and stuff like that, we'll look into more detail when we get into that story here, but I definitely have that lined up for us. The Diddy verdict, it's a little bit up in the air, but we have a verdict on 4 of 5 charges. So we'll dig into that a little bit and what that means and what it's looking like for Diddy. Did he or did he not is the question, I think, on everybody's mind. And make sure you like, share, subscribe. Share this content with anybody that gets into political content. Anybody in your life that you're like, would they shut the fuck up about politics? It'd just be a good person to send this to. And everybody has many family members like that. So shit, send them my way. Send them my way and let me argue with their ass about whatever. Or let me agree with them and we'll chop it up on that. Also, sports. We get into sports. It didn't make the title, but I'm a Dolphins fan. For anybody that doesn't know, and if you're a Dolphins fan, you hit fucking subscribe right now. You support. It's a rough life. And if you're not a Dolphins fan, you still goddamn support because you know what I've been through. But definitely got to talk about Minkah Fitzpatrick. Minkah Fitzpatrick finding his way back to the Miami Dolphins, where honestly he always belonged, and we should have never separated. It really was a shame how everything ended. So I love that we ended up bringing him back, and we'll get into that a little bit more. Also, another trade for Darren Waller after that. So good shit all the way around. Anybody that's watching this, hop in the comments. Let me know that I'm even coming through crystal clear, because sometimes, sometimes I come through with full confidence just to find out that the audio is not working. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that's the case. And then we'll honestly be rocking. But yeah, share the stream. Make sure to get this thing moving. I'm looking at this clock right now, and I'm just trying not to say any curse words before 5 minutes. These are all, I feel like any of these guidelines for moving around the algorithm and things like that, it's like they all feel like superstition and wives' tales to me. Like, as far as like not cursing within the first 5 minutes, not having any crazy paraphernalia. That's why I said fuck the damn. I said forget the paraphernalia. Hey, what's going on? How's that sound coming through? You just let me know. But that's why I said let's just get around the whole paraphernalia issue. We're just gonna go to Mars, and that should help us. Nothing but Mr. Manhattan up here, and me talking about shenanigans. Lasted a whole 3 minutes. Looking good. Perfect. Yeah, well, so for 3 minutes for you, it was actually like 4 minutes and 30 seconds. So even more just depressing for me that I was right there on the edge of making it past the threshold, and we fumbled the bag, but it's okay. Hey, we'll see how it goes. We'll wake up tomorrow and we'll see how this thing, who this reached. And we're going to enjoy a little bit of those conversations. Like now that we're past the 5-minute mark as well, I am going to go ahead and start getting into some of the stuff that we had to talk about. Let's see here. Where is, so I think that the first thing that makes sense to get into would obviously be if I can get this up and share it. This is Bernie Sanders. He is speaking out about the big beautiful bill, which did pass today. So like I had in the title here, Bernie Sanders calls out Trump's new bill. That was when we had a lot more hope yesterday for our country, and we were thinking, hey, hopefully we'll resist this bill at all levels, and that just isn't the case. So it's okay, it passed through and that happened. So let's see what Bernie had to say about it. A politician that we could trust. That's one thing that, you know, I think Bernie really has going for him, is that, you know, through his actions and his consistency and his positions, I would say that's where he's built this level of trust with his base. And, you know, opposed to Trump, to be completely honest, where it's like a lot of times people be like, oh my God, he said fuck. Doesn't that mean he's just such a real guy? He's such a real guy because he said Israel and Iran, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. But it's like, do you know what the fuck you're doing? Is a question. So let's make sure that this is up on the screen. Perfect. Okay. So I'll zoom in here a little bit just so you guys can see. So this says Senator Bernie Sanders released the following statement on the Senate reconciliation bill. Trump's so-called big beautiful bill now on the floor of the Senate is the most dangerous piece of legislation in the modern history of our country. Woo! It is a gift to the billionaire class while causing massive pain for working families. If you're concerned about health care, this bill throws over 16 million people off health insurance. They have and would devastate rural hospitals, which has already been some hospitals have to shut down because of lack of funding and things of that nature. Community health centers and nursing homes by cutting Medicaid and the Affordable Care Act by over $1.1 trillion. While actively getting more involved in wars, which is just incredible. If you're concerned about the existential threat of climate change, this bill decimates our investments in energy efficiency and renewable energy while providing billions in corporate welfare to big oil and making it easier to drill for oil on public lands. Drill, baby, drill, goddamn. Alrighty. If you're concerned about children, if you have any of these concerns, if it's children, if it's climate change, if it's healthcare, he really highlighted them. He highlighted the hell out of them here. And, you know, I think that's what I'm saying. The messaging is always so on point. And this is where, for me, from where I usually analyze these things from a little bit more of a liberal filter, there's a lot of things that I can, you know, I can have some kind of leeway with and some kind of flexibility, but it's like all of these kind of issues, like whether it be, you know, like when you're talking about climate change, people's health, and then economics just in general, like big picture, it's like he's so consistent with that messaging where a lot of other liberals I find can get caught up, I think, fighting like on the fringe of social issues that are just not as material in a way where they affect people across you know, all races, genders, and so on and so forth. Some of those social issues do apply in that way, but I would say like when you're talking about like all races and people of all ages and things like that, they all have children, they're all affected by climate change, and they're all affected by healthcare in one way or another, like literally to the point to where it could injure life. I think healthcare is the biggest reason for bankruptcy in the country, like 60% of bankruptcy claims. If you're concerned about children, this bill wipes out nutrition assistance for millions of hungry kids at a time when we have the highest childhood poverty rate of nearly any major nation on earth. Our kids are broke as hell. In other countries, they let their kids work, though. That's the thing. they'll be fucking 3 years old in the mines. So, you know, I'm gonna say no thanks to that. But still, yeah, it is the reality. There's a lot of the disparity between income and honestly quality of life in a lot of these situations is so vast when you're talking about people that live in the same city. If you live in a major city, you will have people in the most like abject horrible scenario that you can imagine, like living in that, like living in homes with holes in them, like anything that you may project onto other countries that, you know, Americans can get caught up in thinking that we're better than, and we are in a lot of ways, but let's just keep it real. There's people living in those kind of conditions here, and we definitely have to address that. That's one of the reasons, like with this kind of populism that Bernie speaks to, you know, I think it does satiate the kind of the nationalistic kind of itch that some people have, where I think some people can be allies. I don't think nationalists, and this is something I'll get into with Paul when I have him on, it'll be because I know this is something he feels very strongly about, and I think it's an interesting topic because, you know, I could see definitely the insidious kind of like influence that these kind of perspectives can hold on government. But like, for example, white nationalists, there is white nationalists, of course, and I think like once you break things down into like a especially a country like America, and it has to have a certain kind of demographic, I think it's kind of missing the point to a certain degree. But there are also people who are just nationalists, and it's not based on any kind of race. They just, at this point, we're further away from the country that, you know, was relying on immigrant labor, which we still are to a degree, but like we were in that industrial phase where we were really like fully, you know, full steam ahead moving forward. And we were a developing country to a certain degree at that point. We were rich in resources in a lot of ways, but we were still a developing country. So in that way, it was a mutually beneficial. And I think in a lot of ways still, like immigration, I'm not a nationalist myself, but or at least I wouldn't identify as one. But then, like I said, I can empathize with a lot of the perspectives that nationalists end up holding, and I can see them as potential allies when you consider, like, I don't think nationalists necessarily want, you know, these like transhuman techno fucking crats or whatever. Like, I don't think they want them to necessarily, you know, hold the country hostage either and continue to full steam ahead, push the country in that direction. So I think there are allies on either side of the aisle. And I think being able to find those kind of issues, like, I mean, the Iran war was a perfect example. And that's why I think Trump had to completely turn into a 180 and basically say, okay, we're done. Like, no more. He allowed Iran to even have the last word on that when they attacked the military base with basically the okay from Trump. You know, I think he was definitely extremely interested in an off-ramp. And we had that conversation too on the last podcast where, you know, how much credit he deserves for taking that off-ramp or really trying to encourage it when, you know, he kind of threw us into the frying pan. That's that's open for discussion. And I think that that's a really tough discussion that I hope that conservatives are having now, because like I said, I want to be a good faith person here on the internet discussing these kind of issues. So I would say that, you know, I do think that at any point that any of these people that are leaders of countries or so on and so forth, anytime that they take an opportunity to not delve deeper into like the depravity of these wars, it's a positive thing, and I want them to end, so I'm good with it. I'm not gonna, you know, I've seen like some people kind of laugh at Chank when he says like take the win, of course, take the win. But to a certain degree, that is true. It's like when we have the opportunity to step out of these kind of conflicts and then also maybe come to some kind of resolution. Another thing, like if we do come to some kind of like agreement with Iran around their nuclear program, even though again, like I would push back with conservatives if I was debating with one, as far as like, it's kind of an issue of their own, of Trump's own making and his administration's own making when they pulled out of the original deal. So it's really difficult to like applaud that. It's like, cleaning up after your own mess. It's as if like, I don't know, you like you're sitting at the kitchen table, you throw your plate to the fucking ground, you make a giant mess, you throw your plate at people, and then you go to bed, you go to work, you go to bed, you go to work, go to bed, you go to work for 2 weeks, and then you decide to clean up said mess after there's already the floor is already stained. You have a fucking infestation of bugs now. Whoever you live with thinks you're a fucking disgusting, just piece of shit, like disgusting vermin that leaves your food laying on the ground for 2 weeks. I mean, honestly, I'm building this analogy as I'm going, but it's kind of mapping on perfectly. Where it's like, you have to imagine these kind of actions, although we got out of it great. At the long run, hopefully it's a near miss. Hopefully it's crisis averted. And I still don't even think we're to that point to where we're in the clear. You got to hold people accountable for playing so fast and loose with what is people's lives, period. Like American lives, yes, and that's relevant and that's a part of this, but it should be also taken serious when it's just other people's lives and upsetting these kind of like situations in other countries unnecessarily. It's like we just don't have to be involved unnecessarily. I'm not an isolationist. Like I said, I wouldn't consider myself a nationalist either. So I'm not somebody that thinks like, hey, America shouldn't be involved in these conflicts at all, and so on and so forth. I think there's a role for us to play, but more of like a moderator role, more of like a, I hesitate to say peacekeeper role, because then I think that easily gets perverted into, well, peace by strength, for example, peace by force. And I just think like in this situation, for example, where at the end of it, hindsight 2020, they're claiming it's some peace by strength strategy, when in reality, diplomacy could have ended us in the same position or a better position, more than likely, I think. It just would have been a longer road, and you have to have more patience when you're dealing with diplomacy, and you have to really be operating in good faith and be willing to give, where in this case they would much rather just cause or flirt with war and then force the other side to come to some kind of deal that's extremely beneficial. But it's like even those things where it's like, let's just say, for example, let's give best case scenario, let's say we end with a better deal, everything's better. At the end of the day, is there still some kind of like underlying resentment, or is the relationships just like even further estranged? Like, are you pushing them even further into the arms of these other kind of countries that are obviously preparing for some kind of power shift and dynamic shift? I mean, I think 100%, all those things are 100% true. Yes. All like the world is taking notice. Now it is a situation where when you're the United States and you have, the most weapons, the most high-powered military, maybe that encourages those people to keep that dissent to themselves, or at least play nice and try not to go overboard, especially if your leader's flexing as a fucking total psychopath that will bomb shit easily, like whenever. But that's something that, I think we'll have to wrestle with. I think that these relationships globally will 100% be impacted, and they will move accordingly. And I think that it's like when you're the boss, let's just say America's the boss, and let's use another analogy, and I'm freestyling these analogies, but I'm feeling good, so let's do it. When you're the boss, okay, you don't always know how everybody feels about you actually. Now you can get a lot of feedback, and you can encourage feedback, and you could be there to kind of really encourage it, but it still doesn't mean like people are still making a calculation whenever they speak to you, because of whatever your perceived power is and whatever your perceived kind of leverage is in the situation. Like, you're never having a conversation where it's necessarily on equal terms. And that's not to say that the boss is any better than anybody else in that scenario, but specifically because of the environment that you're in, it puts you in a position to where, yeah, so Donald Trump, people may be playing nice with him to his face and may still be like jerking him off and calling him daddy, fucking wild shit. But even the people that are have positive feelings towards his actions right now in the present, I guarantee that they're still calculating. Anybody that has any fucking sense is still calculating, okay, well, if this is showing a bit of erratic behavior, and what if the pendulum swings, and what if I'm on the other end of this, whatever you want to call it, I don't know, like the wrath of, or I can't even say that because it's not even so focused as to say it's wrath. Wiggy-wom, shout out to you, my brother. I was hoping I'd be able to link with you today. I was trying to get on here earlier, but you know how it is. I'm running, I'm trying to get everything set up, and just getting home, and it's a little bit of a mess. Wiggy-wom says, unfortunately, the entire notion that we have any business affecting change anywhere throughout the world is a byproduct of our American exceptionalism, biased education from the ground up. Oof. Love it. Hello, by the way. Hello, my brother. I hope everything's good with you. Hope everything's good your way. I am seeing up here that I'm having some like kind of internet issues. We do, like I said, I live in Florida, so we get some, crazy overcast from time to time. So it might be that. But if it ends up getting crazy, just let me know, actually, if I'm coming through wild. But we have a bunch of videos, by the way, to kind of react to. And I agree with you, by the way, the idea that America is somehow, exceptional compared to all these other places in our way of life is just superior in the way everybody would like to live their life. I think that's totally fair. And when it's coming through our own filter of, well, why wouldn't people want fucking nice shit? Just because, in my opinion, one of the main things that sets us apart in reality from these other countries is our just desire to consume and our penchant for consuming everything, as far as like, and I mean, honestly, it is one of the powers that we hold over other countries, is that we are avid consumers. So who doesn't want to get into the market? But it's also like not necessarily like a awesome, exceptional thing. You know what I mean? Like, to your point, it's like maybe people in Vietnam, they don't really like, maybe they don't give that much of a fuck about PlayStation 5s. It sounds crazy to me. Like, so anybody out there that feels like that sounds crazy, I also agree. If you put a PlayStation 5 in the hands of a Viet Cong, I think we'd have a lot less heroin in the world. So Wiki Womp says it's really hard, for instance, to convince Americans our weapon systems may not be as top as it's often portrayed. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother thing. I think that's an interesting point. And I do think, so aside from like we need to go fix all these other countries and modernize them, I catch myself even kind of feeling that way from time to time. And I've joked on other podcasts as far as like, it's a little bit of a colonist blood running through my my veins there, as far as like, I do have a tendency to be like, it's the hero complex, where it's like, you're like, when you just think about it, you're like, on a global picture, why are people starving? Why are people without electricity? This and that, those kind of things. I think from a humanitarian perspective and just quality of life, I'd like to bring education, like all those kind of things. I think those are noble, but then in reality, it's like, it's really just it's just getting our foot in the door so we could drop McDonald's in the middle of Africa. Let's just keep it real. In reality, it's not because you want to put schools there. It's because you want to put fucking American goddamn industry there. But the weapon system thing, to your point, though, that is very interesting. And there are some other countries that, are, I think, competent, and they are just not to be taken lightly. So I think once we end up taking that step into, like a world war, which we were standing on the edge of, I think it's totally valid. It's something that we have to we should be more careful about. And that's why I hesitate whenever I consider kind of like giving praise. And on the last podcast, you were there. I don't know if you were there for this, but when I consider giving praise to Trump and the administration for getting out of the scenario, it's like I just almost feel like that's part of the strategy, is to undermine the initial actions by, slightly, I mean, pulling back and showing a less aggressive posture. But I mean, like, what's done is done. We're already kind of on the edge of, well, I mean, we're already in war. Outcome of equality is never the intention in a system driven for private profits, right? Fire. Jesus. Can't argue with that. When you type that up, you knew that was, yeah, the question mark is really, it's really rhetorical, it's how I'm taking that. So, but I'm shaking my head. If you were here, I'd be shaking my head in agreement. A hierarchical society creates inequality as intended. Yeah, no, I mean, I do agree with that. Especially, I mean, when you start to deal with like things like supply and demand and things like that, it is going to inevitably lead to that. But I think more what I'm talking about is like a base level of like, is there any base level of what you should come to expect globally as a human when you're talking about quality of life? Like, I mean, is something, I guess, I mean, it is, I guess that's the thing, that's reality, and I guess what you have to come to grips with. But it's like I said, things like running water, things like electricity, things like education. I understand that not every community is going to have like this crazy level of opulence, and not even every person is going to have the tools to even take advantage of those kind of things. Like, just because some people will take their electricity and they'll build businesses, they'll trade stocks, they'll do this or that, whatever kind of productive thing that you can imagine. And then other people throw on some porn and they goon all fucking day, goddamn long, for 12 fucking hours straight with their electricity. Benjamin Franklin would be fucking disgusted. He almost got fucking struck by lightning for this. No sirree. I think that it's tough. I do think that you're right though, as far as a society that's built to basically predatorily profit off of one another, is in industries where profit incentives don't even make any sense for the vow that you're taking to enter those industries. So then it causes those very industries to pervert themselves and work against the interest of what the purpose of the said industry is. I mean, it's pretty incredible. It shows as far as like how incentives can overwhelm even like a system's actual intended purpose. Outcome of never. Okay. So then WikiWam here says, I don't know the true answer for that. It's more philosophical at that point. I agree. Some people on the planet have trashed their containment zones as national states. Yeah. Nation states, India. Yeah. Shitting in the streets. Once you start shitting in the streets, we're like, do we even give them toilets? Or do we just let them keep shitting in the streets? No, but I totally agree with you. I do think that's the complex issue, and it is more of a kind of philosophical, kind of heady thing that we're getting into there. But it's still just kind of interesting and worthwhile. And I don't think that kind of change is something individuals can affect, obviously. So I agree from that standpoint. But I think it is, as far as is that something that we think has some kind of, I don't know, nobility to it to try to even provide that? Or once again, are you imposing in one way or another? I don't know, but I can sit here and we can muse on these topics all day long. WikiWam, you know what time it is. But I do have some videos here, so we'll get into the videos. So I'm interested in your opinion, actually. We are slow to get in here, but it's a thing. Sometimes you just fucking hit the wave and you ride the wave of the algorithm. And sometimes, like I said, they put you in a fucking box. And I will point out, I put IDF in the title. I don't know, but I'll just say, like, anytime that there's nothing like that in the title, we are rocking a little bit. We are definitely rocking a little bit. We have some friends, and we meet friends like Wiggy Wom, who's one of the fucking goats. We love him, in the love the perspective that you're adding to the conversation always, brother. And definitely take the insight serious. It's really refreshing. Okay, so we wanted to get into the Big Beautiful Bill a little bit, because it did pass, like I said. So when I originally put the Bernie Sanders shit in the title, we had a little bit more hope on what was happening. So I showed you what Bernie had to say about that. I also wanted to kind of show you, I thought this was just a little funny, because sometimes this does happen where you end up having these issues again that have some kind of like reach across the aisle, and you end up having some kind of, you have weird alliances that pop up, weird bedfellows, if you will. And it did just barely pass. JD Vance ended up going to Washington to break the tie. And, you know, that's just a fucking sick thing. It feels like we're watching a movie a little bit, but sadly we're not. Sadly, you know, when the credits roll for this one, it's night for realsies for all of us. And so, you know, I'm hoping that things can get a little improved. This might not be popping up. Well, I had some of Elon Musk ranting. So Elon Musk had another fucking crash out breakdown around the Big Beautiful Bill, where he was basically just saying, like, why even have a debt ceiling if we're going to continue to raise it? He wasn't talking about as much what we just went over with Bernie when we were talking about people losing their health coverage. I read an article yesterday where, in preparation for the live I was going to do last night, where it said that an estimated 50,000 people, I think was the number, they said would die from the changes made in this bill based off, you know, losing their coverage and so on and so forth, based off of this bill. And every year, 50,000 people every year. So, you know, shit like that, it is sobering, and it reminds you of the real consequences of one silence. There's some people that I've spoken to through this, just friends of mine and things, some more politically engaged than others. And that's kind of the point of why I'm bringing that up, because some people, I think, you know, see it for what it is to a certain degree, but see it as such a kind of waste of time to resist it. And I think that's such a example of a tool of these kind of systems of oppression. Not to even necessarily, you know, I don't want to get dramatic as far as like the country. I love America. I'm proud to be American and all that. So, I mean, when I say systems of oppression, I just mean it's just like what Wiggy Wom was actually saying here. It's like, it's just kind of the nature of it to hold some kind of power over the state and kind of affect that over its people. So what's going on, Andretti? Shout out to you, my brother. I will drop this link if you're interested. Actually, I do need to drop the link regardless, for anybody interested, but shout out to you, my guy. I'm in here vibing tonight. We're talking about the Big Beautiful Bill, man. I have some videos to react to as well, as far as mostly political. I do need to get into this Diddy shit though. The Diddy shit's definitely wild. I think that verdict's coming. Very soon. And as far as we saw, 4 or 5 have already come down. I dropped that, my guy. Although I love you in the comments, but it doesn't matter, because I love to just sit here and chop it up with you. So it'll be just as beneficial, but it's coming hot. Yeah, no, the verdict is definitely coming. But the comments I appreciate, brother. I do just want to say that it doesn't go unnoticed, because it helps the algorithm when I get in here moving. Wiggy Wom hopping in here. Like I said, special, aside from just the fact that you make great points, Wiggy Wom, I appreciate you engaging and really letting the algorithm know that we're out here talking about some shit. We're out here talking about some real shit. And we're trying to get to it. But as I said, it's just the systems of oppression, they're already there. And one of the greatest tools is to just completely beat down the people that are there to oppose it, which would be the people. The people are here to hopefully hold these representatives accountable in a representative republic, and the people are kind of just, they're disengaged in a lot of ways. And like I said, I think that's intentional. I'm not even solely blaming the people. I think it is in the interest of the powers that be to make the people want to disengage and to have the people where they're just not invested in their own, and see it as one, they don't have the power, or even in some cases I've had conversations with people where it's like, I don't think they see the scope of the change that can happen. So it's like, I think sometimes people just rest on their laurels a little bit, I guess, and they're like, you know what, people are taking care of that, they got it taken care of. But one thing I think it's something that we should remind ourselves as adults, because it happens gradually. I understand that gradually, all of a sudden you're, however old you are, you feel what I'm saying? So it's like, the reality is now we spent a large part of our lives, you're seeing the world happen in front of you, and you're not even able to engage with it fully. I mean, now we're to the point to where it is our responsibility to take our own rights, our own liberties. Like, we have to protect them, or else there isn't some imaginary force. The Avengers aren't there to stand against it. You at some point you end up being a part of that generation that has to pick up the bag, and you gotta that's called agency. Wiggy Wom, brother. Yes, sir. Salute to you. 100%. And I think as far as also understanding that because you can't personally change things in a way where it's like you can change your fucking underwear, you could change the channel, it doesn't mean that you're not having an impact on the bigger change. And like I said, I think that kind of perspective and that understanding of what, like protests, for example, protest is a great example of something that has in a lot of ways been taken and perverted by people through the media or whatever. Like, protests are a good thing. Protests are an American thing. When I see a protest, I'm just all around happy, even if I don't agree with it, as long as they're not being violent or totally harassing people to a crazy extent. A good protest needs to have a little bit of harassment. But I'm joking, but in all honesty, that's something that makes me proud to be an American, when people can stand on the corner and they can speak, they can spread the word on whatever the fuck they feel like they need to spread the word on. I actually got to get this laptop charged. Shit. All right, so I'm gonna get into these videos and we're gonna rock out. Andretti might pop up here, we'll see. No pressure though. Like I said, I enjoy chopping it up with you either way, and I know sometimes it's not always the best time to just hop on camera. Sometimes you just want to enjoy the show, Shout out to Gates Open Media, my brother, and all right, so I should be good. Just confirm with me, Wiggy Wom, or anybody else tuning in, that the audio is good again. I went to plug it up, and then it stopped working. So I might have a little bit of a power issue. So just a heads up, I might have to cut it a little short if I can't get this to plug into my computer without fucking up the audio. It's thank you, Andretti, I appreciate you, brother. But yeah, once I plugged my charger into my computer, all of a sudden the audio shut out and it kept on fucking saying I'm charging and then I'm not charging again. You know what they do, man. They do anything to keep the word from getting out. Thank you, brother. Yes, sir. You're the man for that. Honestly, that's a big one. And then I don't think I read this, so let me get into this. Wiggy Wom, you are fired up. Let's go, brother. Wiggy Wom, we're just if I can get this bitch to charge, we're just getting started because I got to pull up this Pierce Morgan video. We got to fucking crucify him. And I got some other stuff too. So there is a certain amount of agency we have as individuals. The greatest trick ever pulled on Americans was convincing us to enact the Federal Reserve. One of the biggest wake-up calls for people. All right, and I'm going to read this next comment, but if you want to get even more into detail as to why you think that that's the biggest trick, I feel you on that, and I think that totally fair. As far as like moving away from the gold standard and stuff like that. Correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, I mean, I'm with you. So let's see here. And then William says central banks and global banking systems are not as monolithic as we are led to assume. Brother, you got I'm locked in. You got me with bated breath. Who when you say they're not as monolithic, I'm very curious what you're getting at there. And I'm open for whatever it is. I want to hear it. WikiWam here again says there are financial banking factions just as there are any political factions. The wealth has shifted east, and where wealth goes, so does power. Oh, shit. All right. Fair enough. Yeah. I think that's extremely interesting, and I think you're totally valid in saying that. They're fucking vultures. And Deuce, are you ready to be on camera, or do you want me to pull? I can pull you down, or I don't know if you're good or not.
I'm good.
Oh, I'm shit, good. My bad. I gotta get my headphones on. I was like, damn, I can't hear you, but that's why. All right. All right. Shit.
Can you hear me now, brother?
Right. Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. Wonderful. Beautiful. Well, hey, man, what are you eating, by the way?
Some noodles, brother. Some noodles.
Okay. All right. Look good. Wiggy Wom, by the way, just so are you seeing what he said so far?
Yeah, I was actually seeing what he said.
Yeah, he's talking about political factions, and he said the wealth has shifted east, so towards China and things of that nature. He said, so where wealth goes, so does power. And then every dollar spent by our government is debt. Debt is a form of wealth, not for you and I, of course. So yeah, for the government. Or for the Federal Reserve. So let's go ahead and pull this up. I still, like I said, I'm down to hear whatever else you want to say on that topic, brother, because it is extremely interesting. And Deuce, did you have anything you want to say about whatever we've been talking about so far?
He's been spitting Wiggy Wom there. He's been in there spitting, man.
Wiggy Wom's a man.
He spins some fire in there. I can't disagree with him.
Yeah.
I mean, you would think Americans would wake up to a lot of that. Trump's bill, to me personally, there's a lot.
Oh, might have lost him. I might have lost you, brother. I don't hear you, but I don't know if the people can hear you or not. So it could be an issue on my end. Can you go?
Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Did your headphones die?
Yeah, I don't even know what the fuck happened. But I think with Trump's bill, it's very interesting because it goes against a lot of the stuff he says he wanted. And that's what is very kind of disappointing as someone that voted for him. It's kind of like, man, like you kind of sound out a little bit. But it falls in line with every other president that we have. Hopefully we can get someone in there that will actually follow through with 50% of what they say they're going to do. I mean, I get it. He's trying, and I do, have those conversations with diehards where it's just like they don't see much wrong with what he does, but it's like, dude, like if you're being objective, you can't really agree with
everything.
Yeah, with everything, and the bill is just icing on the cake to all the other fuck shit that's already going on.
Yeah,
in my opinion, I think he should have I think he should have slow played it a little bit better. Space out the war. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude.
Yeah. No, he could have played. I agree with you. I think you are right to say, as far as like there's some people that there's nothing that they're even like willing to consider is out of bounds. And I think that's one of the things that's honestly dangerous about the movement is that, with Biden, as much as people like, I think even people that supported Biden were basically like, I have to support Biden because he's the Democrat guy. So it was basically more of a loyalty to the Democrat Party and also a detestment of the Conservative Party that ended up, I think, leading people to support Biden in ways that I personally disagreed with, and why I couldn't vote for Kamala when the opportunity came was because I think that the party was moving in a way that wasn't representative of their constituents and just straight up. And the thing is, we had already allowed that to happen. And I was younger at that time, but with Bernie Sanders, where, you saw the party move against the will of the people that the party's purporting to represent.
It was disgusting.
Well, I mean, you even see it now with the Zoran Mamdani, the mayor from New York. And in a lot of cases, I would say, let's not get so caught up in mayoral races. It's not really that, it's not going to affect us in a lot of ways, so on and so forth. But it is actually extremely telling to the instinct of the Democratic Party. I mean, he is who the Democratic constituency has chosen him in New York. And they are still trying to fight against him. There, you got fucking people literally saying, I will fund any person that will run against him in the Democratic Party. That's fucking disgusting. Like, we're already past the point.
It's gross. And then you got Trump saying if he goes against or whatever, we're gonna arrest. I was just like, this is getting fucking nasty.
Oh yeah, I have some videos here today that we'll definitely talk about that I think just to be clear, that's I guess what I was initially saying. So I'm glad you're right back to Trump, because that's what I think is the real danger with him. When we look back on history and we see like people that really were able to capture moments in countries, and I guess I kind of am comparing to Hitler a little bit because he's one of the examples. But the thing is, when we focus in on Hitler, that like kind of like misses the point where it wasn't only Hitler that was able to really capture a country's kind of frustrations. And that's what I think Trump has done geniusly, is he's come in and a lot of things that he said is true. A lot of things that he's been able to point out about the Democratic Party is true. So it's like people can look at it and objectively, like you said, even somebody like myself who doesn't support Trump, and say, that is true. And I mean, the genius part is that they end up being so brilliant as far as like framing the arguments around these issues, that in reality, and that's why I think Bernie was so awesome, because Bernie was not framing the issues around like, well, what bathrooms are we, or like this or that. It was economic. And that is what actually impacts everybody, literally everybody in this country. Like very small portion of people are going to be trans, which is, I'm not saying it's not something that we should address. We definitely should. And we should have laws in place and all that. But that's where state government. Well, and that's where state government comes in heavily. You know what I mean? Like when we want these kind of like rights for states and things, it's like that's literally where it comes in. And then the people will decide if you're a state and you want to give no rights to trans people or something like that, and you don't want to allow anybody to transition, and that's truly not the will of the people, and it's not popular, then you won't be able to sustain, because people will flee your state. And they'll be like, well, fuck this. All the people that have money will leave, because maybe not around that specific issue, but my point being is like it's all about it's kind of business in that way. You have to present.
I agree with you in that sense, because you could do things in trial periods just to see how well something works, see if people want to change something. You know what I mean? Like I think we need to have I can agree with that, where the politics has to make more sense for the people that are voting. The actual population of people. Like the system, it's very good, but it's not foolproof. Like, because as you can see now, if it gets corrupt enough, you can vote people into these offices, and then they don't do the will of the people who put them there. So it's like I've always said this recently. Like, we should have an accountability system for these people. Like, they shouldn't be able to get elected, multiple times if they didn't do 10 of the things they promised on the list of 30. Like you should be able to have a success rate, or your actual like approval rate should matter to whether you can be reelected or not. I think we actually have to start like holding these people accountable somehow. And when they break the law, when they break the law, when they do insider trading,
Yeah.
can we hold them accountable here? You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you're looking at some of these people make 250,000 for 30 years, and it's like, okay, how is he worth $100 million? Like, where did $100 million come in? That's some good investments, dog. Like,
Yeah. No, I agree. I think that I mean, I have no issue with holding people accountable for doing illegal shit just because they're in the government. I definitely don't think that should protect them. I mean, we see in a lot of cases, I mean, it's become popular now with the whole pardon thing, where that's like out and right, and like with Biden and pardoning like anybody that he's ever spoken to, and preemptively pardon them for any crimes that may be found during a period. Like that's just fucking like that doesn't even seem like it should be legal in the country that we live in if the principles that we supposedly adhere to are real. Now, I mean, I did sit here with Cody and had a great conversation with him, and one thing that we disagreed on, but that doesn't mean that he's wrong. Honestly, I'm a open-minded person. I like to consider people's points of view. But one thing he said was, he said we have principles as long as we are able to have principles. And to a certain degree, I understand and agree what he's getting at, which is like, you know, you think you shouldn't kill somebody, but then if your life's in danger, you're willing to forego that principle of not killing somebody to protect yourself, or something along those lines.
it's a
But I
little
do
dark,
think,
a little dark, but yeah, true.
I mean, I chose a dark example. I probably could have chose a more chill example than that. But yeah. So I mean, I think that I disagree with that though, especially when we're talking about systems of government and just entire control systems, governments, fucking literally governments. It's like if the government, those principles should be hard, like they should not be able to be put to the side by a government. Like I
Compromise. They
understand,
should not be able to compromise those morals and those
well, and I
principles.
understand from on a personal standpoint, from personal, like we should not be held to the same standard though of a faceless like power entity. You know what I'm saying? Like the government will be here before and after. That's why it has to be restrained to a certain degree by the rules that it claims to play by. And you know, I mean, and they were even then not asking for much because the government is willing to change those rules. At least do that. Like what you were talking about earlier, what came to mind when you were talking about like we have to get better people in and things like that, and how do these people still get elected? A huge part of that is obviously our donor class and our donor system that ends up being buddy with these people, and it's crony capitalism, which is literally what we have today. And yeah, it's like favors and like it's based off relationships, not based off merit. And you know, I think that's something that definitely one thing to point out specifically, and we've talked about before because we've had a lot of conversations, but is the Citizen United case. Like once that happened and you allowed companies to be treated as human beings, and basically the whole Citizens United thing was you can't prevent a company from donating to a candidate because the company has the right of free speech, and to infringe on them donating to a candidate is to infringe on their free speech. That's absolute bullshit. Because the thing
That's
is, if you
cheating.
it's fucking retarded. Because the thing is, nobody's saying that if you own a company, Steve Jobs, go donate. You know what I'm saying? Like go donate, but your company should not be allowed to like
Spend
use
your fucking money. Spend your money, motherfucker.
exactly.
Don't spend
Yeah,
that bottomless pit of money you got in that fucking bank vault.
you exactly. You have free speech. You have free speech. So it's like the company once, and like I said, Citizens United literally makes this precedent where the companies have rights as you and I do, which just completely incoherent to me.
No,
So at that
that's
point, yeah,
bullshit.
we're
They should
completely
not be have. They should not be able to have that kind of protection. You know what I'm saying? Like the protection
agreed.
that we have, people need to understand that what you're saying there is like the
Yeah,
protection that we have should be from any type of government agency or standpoint should be at the utmost highest level. The government acts like a godlike figure. You should want that to be at the highest moral authority, right? The people that are in those offices working in there. And if you don't have that, you end up in places like we're right now, where you have a shit ton of corruption. There's so much. it- there's not. You really have. It takes years to get rid of this shit. You need 3 or 4 good presidents to come in, all on the same page. You know what I mean? And it's next
yeah,
to impossible because these motherfuckers work together to make sure there's chaos in the world. You know, like it's sad,
yeah.
dude.
Well, that's fair, and I think even if you're assuming they're not working together explicitly, even how our system is set up, if Trump comes in and he just fucks off for the next 3 years, then obviously more than likely, I think we already are feeling this kind of momentum start to build up. We're probably going to have a Democrat next. And I think Trump had the opportunity here to kind of like not push back on what you're saying, but just to kind of like add to it, where, you know, we're constantly swinging back and forth. We're going Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden. Like, so it's like the country can't, we're not, every time we're, so like I said, if you're not assuming even that they're on the same page and it's a complete fuck show, let's just assume that they're working in good faith. At the very least, we keep on walking down the path of like liberalism or whatever, and then we decide to turn around and we walk, you know, 50 yards back.
Radical right bullshit.
Yeah, they were going back the other way, and we're saying that fucking men can have babies out their assholes.
And for me, like, I'm someone that loves balance. Like, this politics is torture for me. Like, people are like, "Oh, you're so well spoken. You need to go into politics." No, this shit is torture for me. This it makes my brain hurt looking at these motherfuckers just go out of their way to fuck shit up. And the thing is you're right. They're probably doing it in good faith, but that's just how terrible they are at their jobs. Like, I listen to some of these people speak.
Well, I'm not saying they're doing it in good faith, to be clear. I'm just engaging with it, and I'm saying, like, let's just assume maybe that they are. I'm saying they probably are.
Maybe they're listening. Maybe they're listening. I feel you.
I'm just saying to be as fair as possible. My point is to be the most charitable to them as possible. You still come out saying what the fuck, and this is broken and it doesn't work. And
I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.
But my point was to say that Trump had an opportunity with the kind of like cultural swing that we saw.
Yeah, I actually want to touch on that.
Yeah, like the cultural swing that we saw. And I'll pass it right to you. The kind of cultural swing that we saw move towards conservatism and fucking just the right in general. I think he has fumbled that good faith in a lot of ways with the war shit specifically, because one of the most convincing arguments that he made, and anybody can make, in my opinion, to this generation that's coming out of the trauma of the Iraq War, it's like, bro, the no war shit was very, very palatable for people. Like, and for me, one of the reasons I couldn't vote for Kamala was because even though I didn't think Trump would be better, I still was like, you are sitting and being complacent, and you're enabling genocide at that point. I was already on board with this. Is obviously
she was just enabling. She gave an enabling vibe. Trump gave an anti vibe. And I was
going with Biden. What Biden did. Biden 100% enabled that war to continue, and fucking the worst atrocities you can imagine to continue to happen. And then while they would play this kind of like political theater to the public and be like, Biden's really upset with Bibi Netanyahu today. Biden woke up at fucking 4 p.m. today. And he was
well, you know what? And even now, you're looking with Trump too. Oh, Bibi's being a dumbass. It's like, well, dude, Bibi was a dumbass 30 years ago with weapons of mass destruction.
Literally.
You're just not realizing he's a dumbass, and you're still listening to him, still letting him fucking send bombs over there, dude. I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not. You know, there's not Trump. Not everything Trump did I disagree with, but like with this stuff in particular, I 100% agree. He fucked his. Like, and maybe, and you know, he's not a party guy, so maybe he doesn't care, but he definitely made it to where the Republicans are going to fight like hell this next time around to get a president, you know, in office. Like, you touched on it perfectly with the wars. I mean, completely going back against his word with no wars just because he got in there and Israel fed him a bunch of bad intel, you know, possibly. It's just, you know, and it's like you went against all the other irreputable intel sources that you had across the world that people trusted for years, you know, as far as like
people that got him elected.
Yeah, and
people literally got him elected.
Tulsi got, I know. I don't even want to. Poor girl.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking like people like Dave Smith, people like fucking Joe Rogan, who sat here and like consistently, you know, waved the Trump flag, not out of like, hey, we're super Trumpers, but because it's like the war thing. They're like, hey, he's gonna be better than Kamala. He's saying he's gonna end wars. He's saying he's not gonna get us in any new wars. Like that whole coalition that he brought together of libertarians and people who are moderates, or even people who are like defunct liberals, like Joe Rogan would probably classify himself as. He really, like I said, those were people that they brought into the Republican coalition, and he shat on them. So it's like those people are people.
Candace Owens. Don't forget about that baby
Great point.
Candace.
Great point. Actually, I think we might have a video of her. Thank God. I can't wait to watch that. But
Yes, sir.
I might have to cut the camera. But no, yeah, I love her.
Yeah,
Or maybe
yeah.
I actually,
cut
I
it
think the
off
last
eBay.
live. Yeah, I might have watched that video last time. I don't know, but no, bro, 100%. So those people are influencers and people that they could have, if they would have delivered for people like them, then they could have really brought in those people and solidified that alliance. But instead, they fucked it over, and they're probably going to push people back into the arms of people like Bernie who are going to be willing to court those people, like he was just on Joe Rogan for that reason. Now, the only downside I personally see, though, is that I think Bernie Sanders is obviously perfect and like probably my favorite politician in modern politics. But he is, I think, too old and he's not going to want to run. So he's already setting it up as AOC is going to run, which I actually don't dislike AOC necessarily, but I do think that she has too divisive of a brand where it's going to be difficult to get people that already think of her as like a joke and people on the right that are like AOC is a fucking retarded fucking waitress or whatever they say.
She needs to have a lot of growth, in my opinion, but for her to be taken serious. But
so I think
she's smart. She's smart, but I think she needs a lot of growth. You know,
and one thing with her is she's principled. I appreciate about the same thing with Bernie. Is like they will stand on some unpopular shit, but it's not even really unpopular shit from the American perspective. It's unpopular from the government perspective. And in DC, it's unpopular to be against this
from the
Israeli genocide. Yeah. Well, and just the crony fucking Israelites that are fucking buying our fucking government. Like it's unpopular to them, but in reality, it's like to people like me and you, it's music to our ears. And it's like, yeah, I think people, that's why Trump.
And you know, people think that it's crazy because people tell you that you're crazy because you could just be like someone who's like, oh yeah, like Israel has the right to defend themselves. Who cares? They could do, handle your business, but I just don't want to be involved. It's like, well, now you're anti-Semite. It's like, hold on, wait a minute, come pause. It's like me calling you, not gonna say that on here, but it's like me calling you a Ku Klux Klan member or something. It's just like, hey, well, that's a far jump. You got to kind of have some proof and some evidence behind that. And me just saying I don't want any war, I don't know if that justifies that ramification that you just that jump you just made. So
can I clarify
something? Big conversation.
Go ahead.
And it's just weird, like there's been such a big shift from the right's perspective on like this war, and it's literally the same playbook from 30 years ago, from 20 years ago, and it's like, dude, it's so obvious, and you don't have to listen to a podcast. You just have to sit there and pay attention to what's going on. If you watch the news, you can literally tell, like, okay, this reminds me of what I've watched 15 years ago on TV when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? When they played that shit in schools.
Let me get to these comments real quick, but I want to play you a video and I want to get your opinion on it because I think it's in line with what you're kind of getting at. So WikiWam here, he said, let's see here. Once you understand the historical context of the times of Caesar and the transition from republic to empire, a struggle between the optimates and the populares, the wants of the few versus the wants of the rich, probably.
That was
once of the few versus the wants of the many. My bad.
That was deep,
yeah, he put it here. Yeah, no, hey, WikiWam comes and he fucking give you some sources.
That shit was damn near biblical, brother. That's damn near biblical.
Oh, the other night he literally got, which was beautiful. And then we had, I think his name was Jay Davis came in here, and WikiWam said, what did he say? He said that he's a small business owner. WikiWam said at some point in the stream, he said he's a small business owner and that he's self-educated, basically. And Davis came in and he's like, basically called him a Trumper and shit. Was just like, basically, fuck you, you fucking idiot. You believe it? He's just shitting on him. And then I was like, damn, bro, chill out. Like, WikiWam's cool people, and WikiWam's not even a Trumper. Like, I don't know exactly where he lands with his ideology, but definitely like very reasonable.
I would say he's probably someone in the center. He seems very philosophical, and he really likes politics and bullshit.
Thinker. Yeah, man, it's a free thinker.
Sam Fountain.
You feel me?
He's a fucking philosopher. He doesn't believe in
Yeah.
politics.
Bro, in this right here, yeah, he said the Greek city states also knew all of this too. Read Plato's Republic. He said, take your ass to the fucking Plato fucking teachings. Yeah,
Brother, I
you.
love history. I stopped reading history when it started to make me realize we were fucked.
And I realized it was all fake.
Yeah, like I was like, yeah. When I started reading about Rome, I'm like, oh, this is
Oh yeah,
terrible. I was
just
like,
reading
yeah,
all these lies.
I was like, damn. Well,
What's the
all
point?
this shit happened, and this other society fell. And then you start looking around at your society. I'm like, did someone just write this like yesterday?
Oh, bro, my the thing is, crazy people always end up somehow getting vindicated in some way or another. My sister's dad, we have different dads, and she her dad used to always say he doesn't believe in anything that happened before he was born. And it always seemed like such a crazy narcissistic thing to say. Like, but then at the end of the day, I'm like, bro, well, so I don't know if he meant I don't believe anything happened. That's still pretty fucking wild. But he might just be saying, I don't think anything, unless I saw the shit, it's not fucking reputable to me. Motherfuckers are lying. I think that's
we
what
know
he was
the victors tell history, and we know them motherfuckers were liars. Like Attila the Hun said he killed half the earth. No, you didn't, bitch. But you probably did kill a lot of fucking people. But did you kill more people than were birthed in a year? I mean, Jesus Christ, I hope not. I hope not.
Then so Wiggy says, unfortunately, by proxy, us as citizens are implicit in genocide in the eyes of the international community. Which which I understand to a certain degree, but I think one thing you cannot deny, and I don't know how much this is actually coming through to people, not necessarily international officials or anything like that, but hopefully as far as the citizens in other countries, I hope realize that the US population, they're extremely divided on this. Like, I can't explain that enough.
You're not coming to arrest us for it, so go.
You're not coming to arrest us, but then also on top of that,
guy.
Like, it is a very small, it was a loud, powerful minority, I think, in this country that is in favor of what is happening in the Middle East and what we're involved in. Honestly, I think, and that's why I think that Trump is going to lose the nation on this issue, because I think it's an extremely small portion, and they're loud. The Zionists and shit are loud as hell, but like, it's just not enough people. That's not a big enough constituency to get you elected.
And like they and the thing is like it's there's such a big media presence around this, like pushing this propaganda. Like there's podcasts that I've watched. I won't blast them on here because I've already done it on Twitter. If you guys want to find out, check me out on Twitter.
Yeah, ready.
But like it's like sad because you've seen the twist and the change over like a year of like just listening to them speak about the topic, and like the back and forth twisting and pulling, and like, they'll be like, oh, we're a free speech platform, we don't take any donations and this, that, and third. But it's like, you must have some friends like giving you some phone calls or something, because it's like you're not really having any counter opinions to talk about any of this stuff. It's like you're not even trying to get any counterfactuals, to come in, try to rebuttal your points that you're making. Because a lot of the stuff you see these people talk about, like, they don't reference anybody, firsthand sources. They don't reference anybody that has eyes on it, and then there's good reason for that too. If you just look at what is happening in Gaza and then in all these places over there, they're killing reporters.
Well, they won't even let reporters from outside of the outside of Gaza or Israeli reporters report on it. Like, you have the guy that was on Joe Rogan.
The dude, you're talking about the douchebag from Britain.
Well, I actually like that guy. He's had some really good debates in the past. I'm blanking on his fucking name for some reason, but I've watched a lot of his. Douglas Murray. So yeah, when Douglas Murray was on there, and he was talking about, well, I've been there. I mean, he's a known Zionist for years. Has been a known Zionist, and then even when he did go into Gaza, he wasn't allowed. Yeah, he was being transported around by Israel, and he wasn't allowed to just go see whatever he wanted. And Piers Morgan actually has been a really loud voice on this, which I appreciate, because in every war zone, that is the responsibility of the reporter to take, because basically what Israel's saying is it's too dangerous. But like that's never been the case for like any fucking war zone in the history of,
I've
and like if
followed
you die, you
wars.
die.
You can fucking get war film footage of World War
Oh
Two,
my
World
god.
War One. Get the fuck
Yes,
Vietnam,
definitely.
everything. Get the fuck out of here. Listen,
Yeah.
see,
So
and
to
this is
say
the
that,
problem. That's the problem
well,
with like,
and it allows them plausible deniability, by the way. So then we don't have any kind of like direct sources, like you said. So then whenever anything gets reported by some, by some Gazan reporter or something, or journalist, they end up just saying, oh, we'll investigate it. And who's investigating it? It's Israel investigating themselves every time.
well,
It's
and that's
crazy
my
shit.
problem though, because you have these people that will go on these podcasts, dude, and they'll talk about shit. They're like, "Oh, well, yeah, it's this and this is what's happened. This what's happened." And it's like, bro, you're literally. I'm like, and I get it. Like, if you're Jewish, you know what I'm saying. If you're Israeli, you know what I'm saying. Cool. Like, you believe what you're told, but like at some point, like when you see the film of Gaza, it's seven
Yeah,
square fucking miles, guys. Let's be honest here. You're bombing 7 miles. There's not going to be much left, dude. And maybe I'm getting wrong about how big it is, but it's not very big.
it's
You can
about shit.
literally get around. You can get around the thing in fucking like 30 minutes, probably, right? They were bombing it for months, guys. When you see the
So
footage,
17, by the way, 17.30.
17. So I was 10. I was
And
10 off.
it says just for so people can visualize it. It says here the Gaza Strip is geographically about the size of Philadelphia, Detroit, or the country of Grenada.
I got family in Grenada. I'll tell you how small that. So you can get around that bitch in about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Nope, because you don't have no hills or mountains, so probably 30 minutes. I mean, you probably
They
gonna
don't have
take you about
no,
3 or 4 hours now because you're going over fucking rubble and buildings, if we're
yeah,
being honest.
bodies,
And
yeah,
then if you can, you're not getting, gas cans of fire grenades dropped on you from drones.
getting
I
dumb
watched
missiles dropped on you.
Yeah, I've watched videos of that on civilians in tents. I was like, that's interesting,
Yeah,
But to me, what we're not understanding about this is there's 7 miles. They knew that these people couldn't escape on
17
certain
miles.
borders. 17 miles. You knew these people
All
couldn't
good, all
escape
good.
on certain borders. You knew it was mostly women and children. You knew that the number of terrorists that were in the area wasn't even comparable to the amount of civilians in the area. And you still
Yeah.
indiscriminately bombed it. You have literally warrants and and sanctions and all this stuff trying to hold Israel accountable, and no one is doing it.
Well,
No.
and something else. I think now that we have this Iran conflict to compare it to, and we have the Houthi strikes in Lebanon, but they fucking in a single day said, "Hey, we've killed every fucking Iranian fucking general in the country. We killed their leader of their fucking nuclear program." This is Israel. I don't know if you remember this or if you read, maybe not, may have not even read this report, but literally, it was like the first day that it was open warfare between them and fucking Iran. They killed like all of the leaders in the country, and they said, and we know where the Ayatollah is, and basically we can kill you. So it's like, think about the precision there, and think about the precision that they didn't use in Gaza, and how they, and obviously it's because there's a different goal in place. The goal is to basically force those people to leave or kill as many people that are there, but then force everybody else to leave. So
Here's what Americans need to understand
I do have to get
something,
into these
and you
comments
need
real
and
quick, but go
people.
ahead, and then I'll try not to respond.
I think people in America just have to understand something. What's going on over there is this an expansion of territory. This is nothing more or nothing less than someone trying to expand their borders, and this is how you do it. When you go to war on every border you have, right? You have one border that's bordered by sea, but you have a small piece of land by some people that you consider natives, right?
Yeah.
What do you do with that? What did America do with the Indians? You drive them off the land. They just decide, fuck it. We understand it's easier just to do genocide, right? Indiscriminate, just kill.
Yeah.
Then you have terrorists that you funded over the years through different ways, through other countries, this, that, third. You funded, you giving aid to this, that terrorists now have all these weapons, all this shit. Now you have a reason now to go and bomb your northern border, your eastern border, your western border. And now what are you gonna do with that territory now? You're gonna fucking take it. Just like what Russia do.
Well, they
They
said,
fucking
and one of the I guess first signs to me that Trump was not gonna be any better on this issue than Kamala or Biden, and probably in fact worse, is when he was posting the shit online about they're gonna do a fucking resort there. It's like to like, I have a pretty dark sense of humor, to be completely honest with you. Well, you know that, but for the audience, just so you know, it's like I'm not sensitive when it comes to shit like this. But it's like when you
be careful what
consider
you
the
watch.
depravity, well, the depravity of like children are having their like just everything. I have shit burned into my brain from Twitter that I've seen from this conflict of children's limbs on the ground, like fathers holding their daughters while they fucking die on their hands. So it's like when you consider that is the reality on the ground, and these are citizens, like I said, we're talking about kids getting fucking killed, bro. To post some shit like that, and also not even just to post some shit like that, but you're directly influential in the thing you're joking about. It's like, that's just fucking wow. I gotta read these comments, but that's just fucking disgusting. And I know that we're on the same page with this shit. So where were we? Because Wiggy Wah, my bad, bro. I know you're fucking killing it right here, and I've been reading some of the shit. You are making me laugh, but I'm trying to find where I was. Okay, so right here. Well, actually, no, yeah, that's where we were. All right, so he doesn't care about them because those influencers take money with direct ties to Israeli billionaires and investment firms. So I think that's when we were talking about how Trump and them kind of shit on the whole podcast, I don't know, ecosystem that got him elected, or at least was a huge part in getting him elected. Which, by the way, so many American states and cities have bought Israeli central bank bonds. That's interesting. Okay, to the tune of nearly $1 trillion. Wow, that's really interesting. Honestly, that's something I'm ignorant of. I'll have to look into that. But
I have to spit on those people. No, I'm just playing.
yeah, we used to exactly. We used to buy bonds for our own country, but now we go ahead,
we fucking fund other countries with our money now. I guess that's what we've been doing this whole time. We just been breaking our fucking backs. Us that do fucking labor jobs, we just go out and work in the sun to send our money across.
Breaking our backs and our spirit. Don't forget our spirit, brother.
You know what this ignorant fuck said too that just pissed me off? He said some shit like, "Oh yeah, those Patriot bombs we sent over there, the Iron Dome. Yeah, we're gonna be producing a lot of those. I know that's what they want over there. Who was it? Some fucking ally of ours wants those now." And I'm like, in a negotiation. I'm like, dude, get the
probably
fuck
Saudi
out
Arabia or some shit.
Yeah, it was like I'm like, get the fuck, bro. We're not doing this. I'm like, we're not doing this. Cut the bank off. Cut them off. Shut the card off.
Yeah.
Just
Well, kick the fucking people with fucking defense. Well, not even defense ties, but like ties to these like private defense contractors. Cut them out of your fucking admin, bro.
It was just the dumbest thing to keep all those people around, in my opinion. It's like, oh, he can control them. Yeah.
This is interesting. Wiggy Wom's. So he's talking about the bonds here, and he says that's an investment that will never see a return based on the current trajectory of Israel. Yeah, that's very interesting, and I guess that would maybe that's maybe some of the behind the scenes, kind of like subtle motivations that it's causing us to support this kind of.
What happens when Israel feels like it's so powerful it can go toe to toe with Saudi Arabia, the UAE, and Turkey?
It is interesting. So yeah, I think that point is way more interesting today than it ever has been, as the way that we fight wars becomes less about manpower. So it's like now all of a sudden it does become a thing to consider that a highly developed country with the most sophisticated weapon systems could maybe hold their own against the country that's triple their size, 10 times their size. Where does that stop? But so Wiggy Wom also says the Mongols as a whole probably killed about 60% of Asia. The Black Death followed for Europe shortly after. So pretty much the whole world died around the time of Genghis. Yeah. And it's history's worst concentration camp, Gaza. Yeah, I mean, honestly, at this point, when you consider the blockades and you consider the conditions, it's like that argument has never become more easier to make, sadly, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Hamas has also made the Vietnamese look like tunneling amateurs. Yeah, the
Dude, no. What happened
Viet-
and dude, the propaganda is such bullshit. It's like 1 minute Israel wants you to think you the
shout to you, Cracker
strongest
Jack,
thing moving, right?
my
And
brother, right
then the
there.
next minute they're so inferior that they can't catch a mission to kill innocent civilians. They don't catch the tunneling systems that they knew about. It's just like, dude,
Oh yeah, like
like
October 7th, where they have people in their fucking country, and I don't mean to laugh because it really isn't funny. That we had a conversation immediately after that. I totally get defending yourself after something like October 7th. It's just now we're years into this. It's like, are they even actually fighting offensively at this point?
you
Hamas,
mean
like
last October 7th or the year before?
the year
Is
before. Yeah,
that
fucking sick.
It's
So
like,
it's like,
what
bro,
the fuck are we
yeah,
doing? There's still people left? There's
but
people?
that is incredible. Yeah,
There's
because it's like,
tunnels?
where
You
are they
guys
going?
got bunker bus. Listen, one thing
Which
I
is
do
crazy.
know, if you have
Which is
our
crazy, by
bombs,
the way, that tunnels is enough to hide from fucking missiles for real in this old age that
dude,
we're
it's
getting to in the
not.
world.
It's not. Think about this, brother. Think about this. We just
Okay, go.
dropped bombs that penetrate 60 meters into the ground, right?
Yeah,
Israel gets all of our weapons. So at this point, you don't think now. Obviously, you don't want to drop a bomb like that. You're going to kill a lot of people. But at the end of the day, like but you did it anyway.
yeah,
You did it fucking anyway. You just did it slowly and painfully. You made
bro.
them suffer through it.
On the stream, I think Wiggy Wan was the one that actually suggested it. He said that he was kind of speculating, but he thought that possibly the weapon that they used to do the Iranian thing, where they're going for the nuclear sites, was to attack with this thing called a tungsten rod. And correct me if I'm wrong on that, Wiggy Wan, because you really introduced me to that. I didn't know about it previously,
I've
but I
heard
looked
about
it up on the
that.
stream. Bro, it's some shit where they drop fucking rods from outer space. They drop rods from outer space, and it
I saw
basically
it in a
creates
movie,
it creates a bomb the size of like a nuclear explosion, but without the radiation.
dude. I
Rods
seen it
from,
in a movie,
rods from
bro.
God.
That shit's in a movie. That shit's crazy.
Yeah,
That
that
shit
shit is
was
absolutely that's Lex Luthor shit. Some shit
no,
he could drop on
literally.
Superman.
Like it literally launches a goddamn just it obliterates cities.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know,
So I mean,
I,
yeah,
I mean, if they have technology like that, the world's fucked. I mean, let's just be
100%. Well, and then that's why like your question is valid because at one point Israel, no matter how good they thought they were, their military was on an individual standpoint, they could never attack Iran because it's like just the manpower. It just wouldn't even matter at a certain point. But now we're
well.
getting
That's
to
what
the
I'm
point where
saying.
we're dropping fucking rods from outer space. Well, I mean, does it even matter if you have, all those soldiers? By the way, Cracker Jack, I did
Yeah.
want to say he said freeze the account. I'm not sure exactly what that was referring to, but I did want to say thank you for hopping in.
He's talking about with Trump, where he's just opening a checkbook and just fucking spending money like
Yeah,
crazy. Now freeze the
fair
account,
enough.
Cracker. I feel that. Freeze that fucker.
Yeah, no, for
Freeze
sure.
that fucker. Call the IRS. Freeze his shit.
And then Wiggy Wom says the Iranians have said most of the assassination attempts survived. I'm sure you can take that propaganda or whatever, but yeah, information from people at war is always a spin. That's true. I mean, you have the whole idea of like fog of war and just you can't, which I mean,
Find me a UN reporter. If you can find me a UN reporter that has the information, I'll believe it. If you don't give me one of those, fuck them. Because everybody else has some type of narrative they're trying to push. Like the Douglas Murray dude, you could tell he was so
yeah,
disingenuous in his fucking conversation. It's like, bro, I get it. You're licking Netanyahu's ball sack. I don't know. Maybe he gave
yeah,
you his fifth grandchild or something.
yeah.
But dude, you get a grip, brother. Like you're the only person he's doing this with. You're the only reporter he's letting in to have this. Like there's a handful of people that have been able to go there and fucking get this information.
Well, on that
And then
note, I want to ask you a question with Israel. Like, how much credibility do you give to the Epstein shit with Trump or with anybody, Douglas Murray as well, but Trump specifically? As far as like, you are right that he's had a kind of stronger posture with Israel at certain points, but he always kind of like ends up like backing down to a crazy
bows
extent.
down, bro.
Like,
Bows
I mean, to
down.
the extent where he gives them what they want. He was like, hey, and we might have talked about this, but originally with the Iranian diplomacy, they had they had open conversations were happening. They had more to come, and Israel was actually pissed because they felt like they were undermining, allegedly pissed. I mean, who knows? This was probably all complete bullshit, but they were supposedly pissed because they were undermining them by directly negotiating with Iran, America, and then before then at the same time during those negotiations, Israel goes ahead and they hit Iran. So
Man, we should have
it's like,
bombed the fuck out of Israel as soon as they did that shit. I hate that. Let's send a goddamn message. Send a
yeah,
message.
that would
Or
have
cut off,
definitely
or
been
cut off supplies of weaponry, something. You gotta do something. Your child
yeah.
act up. You gotta discipline them. You can't just let them do so.
Well,
What?
so how much of that do you give any credence to the Epstein thing?
No, bro.
Because
Honestly, dude, I think it plays a factor. I don't think look, Elon Musk. However people feel about him, like one thing
yeah,
about this dude is he's not a bullshitter. When he speaks on something, it's usually factual and 100% accurate. If he said
yeah,
Trump is in those files, more than likely he's in those files, right? In what
yeah,
capacity is he in those files? I mean, Trump. We already know Trump is in there. We knew he was on the fucking plane. That already leaked, right? We saw
yeah,
the boarding, logs and shit. So he was on
yeah,
it. He went to the. I don't know where he went, but he went somewhere with the motherfucker.
yeah,
So that's enough for me there. Like I knew that back then. It
hmm
is what it is. I don't think we're gonna get the information. So but it is blackmail though. Like there's politicians all over that shit, dude. There's doctors, there's scientists, anybody who you think was wealthy for the last 30 years is on that list. Anybody you thought rubbed elbows with that motherfucker is on that list. Bill Gates is on that list. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? There's presidents on that list. There were future presidents on that list. And that was
yeah,
for a reason. I 100% think Epstein was tied in with the Mossad. If you look at all the people he rubbed elbows with, they were all important. They all were important in some way, right? In
yeah,
America, in big some type of foundation, company, corporation, hospital. It's like you remember the blacklist,
yeah,
right? The whole concept of it. You had all these people with different skill sets that were in a book, and this dude could call on them to do all these different things.
yeah,
That's how I kind of think about it in a concept like that. Like you just acquiring, it's like acquiring tools on your tool belt, right? Right. You never know where you might need a gadget to get out of a situation, so you can pull that card out whenever you want. Unfortunately for these people, they're getting blackmailed with underage sex with kids and shit, which is not unfortunate for them. They're actually pieces of shit for even doing it. And if they were trying to pull that bullshit, oh, I didn't know she was underage. It's like, yeah, well, she looks like a child, so you're full of shit.
yeah. I think that. Well, I mean, at the end of the day, just being involved in those kind of um, like weird fucking satanic sex orgy things, it's like there's just something wrong with that just to begin with. To be honest, even if it wasn't illegal, like there's just something depraved about it.
You guys are too
Uh,
too comfortable having sex in front of each other. Can we talk about that?
that's true. That
we're,
is true.
we're
Ah,
like,
but
dude,
so
that's
Wiggy Wom says decades into this, or centuries in the Abrahamic context, the apocalyptic eschatology, and then he
English
said lots.
brother. English brother.
I understand what he's saying there, but the here I wanted to go ahead and show you this. This is supposedly a picture that Jeffrey Epstein had, and he
Oh,
had
there's a couple other ones he had too.
I know he had the Bill Clinton in a dress.
Dude, listen, and dude, oh, bro, listen, dude.
Look at this man right here.
This picture pisses me off so much because,
Yeah, I'm getting a little heated about this. I'm not gonna lie to you.
dude, this guy, dude, no one's gonna tell me Epstein was not involved with that shit. I don't give a fuck what no one tells me.
Yeah,
There's no, listen, no, I'm not doing it.
pisses me off that he.
Bin Laden worked for the CIA. This motherfucker
Yeah,
Epstein was Mossad. You know what I'm saying? All of a sudden, Israel tried to tip us off, but they didn't go through the proper channels to tip us off. Bro, get the fuck out. I mean,
they sent it through snail mail.
like, who the fuck does that? Like, who the fuck does that? What if we sent you on October 7th some fucking snail mail about the attack? How would you feel?
That's
You'd
true.
be blasting
That's true.
America all over the place. Or
Of
we
course.
forgot our rocket shipment for the month.
Can,
You
can I ask you kind of like it's a broader question? I might have actually. I think I asked Billy in the chat when we were debating, but this is something I've kind of been toying with a little bit in my mind, because I've heard a few people talk about this and support these kind of conflicts through the guise of religion, and like basically like it says in the Bible, like the Ted Cruz shit, where he's like, hey, it says in the Bible, those who bless Israel will be blessed, and this kind of like
Ted Cruz is full of shit.
Yeah, I guess that kind of justification for what we're doing. So it's like I just want to ask, should we? Is there? If I don't know exactly where you land as far as like if you're like a devout Christian or anything like that. I know, like kind of generally we've talked about this stuff, but I don't know like specifically. But even let's just say from a Christian perspective, should you be trying to bring about the end? Like I'm kind of confused by that. It's like if this is something that's foretold in the end times, should we be actively trying to like run towards it and fulfill prophecy? Because that's kind of the whole self-fulfilling prophecy thing. We're consciously aware of the prophecy and we're doing things in order to make it happen rather than the prophecy just kind of like happening on its own. So I mean, it almost taints it in a way when you consider that. And I'm curious your opinion on that, because I don't know exactly where you lie. And then also, if we are at that point, if anybody was going to be an antichrist, I mean, I can think of a few people, but I think there's some really good arguments for some of the people we're supporting. So
I think they got one bombing. They got one bombing over in the Middle East right now. He's just bombing everybody. He's just bombing all his neighbors. I think he's a likely candidate. But
for sure. Well, and like if we want, even if we're thinking as Christians, like there's some responsibility to like, I don't know, like engage with the end times in a way. Like under any circumstance, should we support the devil or Antichrist?
I just don't. I don't think we should. That's why we separated church and state for this reason, because
fair point.
Well, and this in our country at least, right? I mean,
thank Christ. Thank Christ for that one.
Yeah, literally. Thank you, Christ. Because this is what you see is the justification that people use for Israel going to Palestine, taking land, doing what they're doing now. It's bullshit. Like, because that's not everyone's belief. So your belief doesn't trump someone else's. You know what I'm saying? Just because you feel like your belief is stronger or has a holier perspective or whatever the case is. Like,
because
I actually had
policy.
I had someone literally say that to me the other day. I'm like, yeah, but what if that wasn't my religion, what the fuck would that matter to me? That would not mean shit to me. You know what I'm saying? And that's what people have to understand. So that's not an argument that you can really stand on with someone who has a different religious belief. Now, if you have some type of, and the thing is too, some people don't believe religion is true history. You know, now I believe like some religious history is true history. You know what I'm saying? Because there's some things that correlate, but you know what I'm saying? Like a part of me feels like you can't just use all of it because all of it doesn't line up with modern history of what we know today based on science and shit like that.
And some people that interpret the text don't even feel like some of the things being depicted in the Bible, in the scripture, are even meant to be taken as like a historical account. Some things are meant to be more of like a parable or like some kind of like metaphorical kind of like thing that's
exactly.
So it's like not everything. Yeah, not everything. And even words change. So like when I think I was having this argument on the podcast with Cody, but I was also having it with Billy, where it was like, when we're saying things like Israel should be blessed and shit like that, the Israel that's being discussed in the Bible is not the same Israel that is being discussed in modern times. You know what I'm saying? Like, at least that seems pretty clear to me now. And to be fair, I would leave it open for other people's interpretation, but that's why we can't make policy and we can't go to war based off it, because all of this is based off interpretation, which is fine. And doesn't even mean that there's not some kind of like divine inspiration to it and all that. But
Ted Cruz saying that shit was the biggest political bullshit speak I've ever heard in my life. He didn't even think that shit through. He just, one of his staffers told him that shit and he ran with it. And you can tell.
He's thinking the people that he's talking to are religious, and he can kind of like emotionally play on their own religiosity. And Tucker's like, "Where is that at?
You just disrespect me. You just disrespect me on TV."
Tucker said, "Where did you get that from?" And he's like, "Oh, it's in there. We can pull it up. It's in there." Then he's like, "It's in Genesis." Yeah, Tucker actually looked like a fucking superstar in that interview.
That was the funniest part.
Yeah, that was good.
I said,
He asked him when he already knew the answer. Fucking slick. Wiggy Wom says Shabbat. Orthodox Jews believe Netanyahu is the last prime minister. After him, they are going to be led by the Jewish Messiah, i.e., Antichrist. Which is part of that. I mean, so totally on point with Wiggy Wom as usual, my brother. But it's as far as like Christians that are even supporting this, like they're
deporting
belief, like right now
Christians in Israel. They're literally deporting Ethiopian Christians in Israel right now.
Well, the Christians that are supporting this move, as far as Israelis, is because they feel as if to bring on revelation, you have to build the third temple in Jerusalem or whatever. And also the Israelis believe the same thing. And like what Wiggy Wom's saying right here, from the Israeli perspective, when they build this temple, the Messiah will return or whatever, and it's going to be there because they, the Jewish people don't have a Messiah. They don't believe in Jesus Christ. They don't have that person in their religion. It's supposed to still be coming, and now, and like I said, they're trying to usher it in, which to me is like, it's just a very weird thing. Like, it's, if I told you fucking, tomorrow my stomach's gonna hurt or something, that's my prophecy for tomorrow, and then instead of going about my life as normal, I eat a bunch of hot food and I drink a bunch of milk throughout the day to make that become the true, make what I said initially true. Like, like what the fuck, what weight does it even hold? Like, it basically has to be an Antichrist at that point because it's not organic. And then here, let me just, Wiggy Wom has two more and then we'll toss it back. And I do have a few videos here I'll have to start getting into because I know we'll sit here and I'm just saying for your own time, because I know we'll sit here and chop it up and look up and I'll be like, damn, it's 2 a.m. I gotta watch these videos. And then, we'll be in trouble. So Wiggy Wom here says the foundation of the Bible is literally God is a poet God. He spoke and brought the world to creation. Beautiful. All right. And then Wiggy Wom also says,
hey, Wiggy Wom, you tutor, brother. You got, you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, well, Wiggy Wom, he said that he's a real estate developer and he, like I said, he he owns his own small business.
Hey, Wiggy Wom, get at me, brother, if you're in Florida, brother.
Yeah, he's in Texas, actually.
Oh, shit, even better. Oh, you're smart. Oh, Wiggy Wom, super smart.
You're smart. You're in Texas. Oh, yeah, genius. But so Wiggy Wom says that's the whole thing, Kabbalic belief, which I actually did read a little bit of that when I was like in fucking, because I had like a little bit of a religious crisis when I was in middle school even. And I started reading a lot of religious shit. And one of the religious texts that I read was the Cabal, which is like mystic.
Devil shit.
I kind of, a little bit. I actually remember one random memory that I have is actually going to one of your brother's basketball practices, and I brought that with me and I was reading it. It was just a weird memory that I have reading the fucking reading fucking Jewish fucking spell book.
You was walking around with fucking demons, brother. You remember that?
Yeah, I was literally walking around the fucking rec center with a fucking goddamn fucking Jew fucking witches. Fucking
you just came up on a locked memory. You just unlocked a memory right there.
Yeah. Well, that's somebody. That is one that for some reason I consistently remember. But either way, the Wiggy Wom says that's the whole. Okay, so I read that actually. But yeah, shout out to you, brother, and we are locked in. And thank you because you just fucking made me think about that memory that I had here with Deuce. So here, let's get into a few of these videos because they do have to do with stuff that we've talked about. One thing specifically I'm interested in getting your opinion on. There's actually so many of this I'd love to get your opinion on, but I guess I want to keep it coherent. So fuck it, we'll just go here.
Because you, and I mean specifically you, the press, specifically you, the press corps, because you cheer against Trump so hard. It's like in your DNA and in your blood to cheer against Trump. Because you want him not to be successful so bad, you have to cheer against the efficacy of these strikes.
Fucking cuck, dude.
Real talk. So just, I'm going to obviously let it roll.
He's a cuck. He's a cuck. Let's start there.
Well, also, doesn't this just feel like this feels like state propaganda? I'm sorry, like, I don't want to be the Hitler person because I wasn't like that. And I hope you remember, I was not like that with the previous Trump term. And I'm not even trying to say like Hitler, but I am. There's just the authoritarianism. I think that is here. Like a lot of that shit in the fascism, like there are the kind of like beginning kernels of that. Like this guy's literally Pete Hegseth here, for anybody that doesn't know. He's talking down to like the press room about I don't know, like just not like delivering propaganda and not like flagellating the president, like with their work. Like, is that what the press is even intended for? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's why it's so gross. This is actually really concerning. I had this the other night. I've been wanting to show this video. I think that that's why I want to hear your opinion. I want to know if maybe I'm overreacting. That's possible, but I think this is actually something that should be alarming to people. Like this kind of expectation of the press that they should be doing these kind of like puff pieces, not telling the truth, but you know, representing.
This dude's a fucking liar, bro.
He is also a piece of shit.
When you like, he's coming on here just talking down to these people like they're his children. It's like, bro, no, we have eyes, we have ears, and we have a mouth. And when we
and a job, and we have a job. That's not what you're saying.
Yeah, and exactly, and it's like, dude, you're sitting here trying to tell us what we're seeing and what we're hearing is not what we're seeing, and it's like, that's bullshit, bro. Like, we can see what Trump said 3 or 4 months ago. We can see what he's saying now. We can see the actions that were taking place by Israel under the Biden administration, under Obama, under the Bush administration, under Bush Senior. You know, and it's like now under JFK, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen the propaganda. And it's like you're doing the same spin job now. Oh, well, this person, and this person who spews fucking Israeli propaganda says that everything that they did was justified and it was right and they did 100% good. When have you ever fucking heard something was 100% accurate? When anybody sells you anything is 100% fucking run.
Are you talking about them saying that they've destroyed the nuclear program? Is that what you're
this fucking dude?
Yeah, because I do want to paint that. So just because I'm talking about the whole situation, and so are you, of course. But I want to make it clear for anybody watching with us, what he's specifically upset about is that there's been leaks that say that the strike on Iran didn't actually completely degrade their nuclear program. So like I said, it's not even anything where they're just like, just going out of their way to shit on Trump. We had a offensive military strike on another country, and then reporters received leaked information. And then this guy, it feels as if, I guess, they should forego that leaked information based off some kind of like patriotism. That's just not America. That's why this is so insidious and so scary.
And it's bullshit. And he's like, "Oh, here are my sources to prove you guys wrong." After I just insulted,
it's me. Here's my source. It's me. I was there.
Like, oh, the UN, the good person. This. It's like, well, hold on. Like, where did they fucking publish any of this? How come no one else has seen any of these publications of these?
We need to understand how much of a fucking piece of shit Pete Hegseth is. We need only reference the words of his own mother, which was like, he's a fucking disgusting drunk piece of shit. Like that, we literally there's leaked conversations with his mom where she's like, he's a fucking scourge on humanity and fucking think about this is your son. because there was like some wild allegations with like him, doing some like essay kind of shit. I'd have to pull it back up to refresh my memory. I don't want to.
He looks like,
but it was some weird, it was some crazy shit.
Allegedly,
yeah, where he was like. He was being forceful, I'll say. Wiggy Wom here says, well, all Christians would refer to anything pagan as devil shit. But I think, but I think pagan beliefs are super relevant. And really influential to the beliefs of Christianity itself, to be clear. Ancestors worship, action, fate, dignity, all of these are tenets of pagan. Yeah, fair. No, I think that there's definitely something to that, as far as like at one point paganism was way more influential than it was, and then we're talking about government as a control system, and I'm not like anti-religion or anything, but one thing that I think we have to be thoughtful of when we're kind of discussing religion is its own kind of like system of control, and in a useful one, to be honest. I could even see where some people that aren't religious make the argument for why it's necessary, as far as like to keep a society functional and things like that. So to your point with paganism, I think it totally has tenets in it and things like that are of value. So Wiggy Wom also says diaspora in Western DNA. So I think you're saying paganism has a diaspora in Western DNA, I believe. Correct me if I'm misinterpreting you. Hegseth is a good guy. He does what his masters in faith tell him to do. Yeah, he's definitely a fucking chill. Although he may be a true believer in the whole thing that Jesus won't come until he births greater Israel. Maybe, but like I said, I just don't. I think even if you are in that vein and you think that is the case, and I guess I get if you're a follower of Jesus, you really, really want to meet him, but it just, like I said, I think it flies in the face of that if you're actively trying to bring it about. And I think in this case, if we're supporting Israel, we're supporting something that is basically the antithesis of the teachings of Christ. So how can you, as a follower of Christ, not you, but you obviously, but like hypothetically, these people, how could you support that and act as if it's coherent with your own, supposed belief? But here, we'll get back into Pete Hegseth.
You have to hope maybe they weren't effective. Maybe the way the Trump administration has represented them isn't true. So let's take half-truths, spun information, leaked information, and then spin it in every way we can to try to cause doubt,
report it,
and manipulate the public mind over whether or not our brave pilots were successful.
Bro,
how many stories have been written about how?
Yes, sir.
Fuck this guy, dude.
Yeah, no, he's
he's responsible for the death of fucking women and children, and he can fucking come on here and spew this bull like that. And this is the problem with this country. We cannot have this. We need to hold people like this account. You should not be able to come out and say things like this without having facts and credible sources.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's like I said, like when he's like, oh, there's leaks and things of that nature. One, that's your guys' responsibility for having leaks. And then two, what is the job of the reporter? And I want to be clear here because I criticized our like Western media on this. I think definitely there's criticism to be had of Western media, obviously. But I mean, that's different than directly criticizing just broadly press and not any real specific thing. But around these attacks in Iran, I feel it personally as if we saw the war machine kick in quickly, like immediately. Like we talk about all the CNN hates Trump so much and runs unfair stories, blah, 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 whatever people say about him, like what Pete Hegseth
fucking when?
It's like,
when?
Well, my thing is, I do think that to a certain degree, you did have that with like MSNBC where, they would spin things about Trump because they would cater to their audience or whatever. But when it came down to war, they were all quick to endorse it, all quick to get on there and like run these same propaganda stories of like Iran can't have nuclear weapons. They don't have them though. Like, I mean, that we already got into that. We can get into that separately. And that's just too big of a conversation because that'll take us too far away from the video we're reacting to. But that's the reality.
We should do a separate video on that for sure.
Oh, of course. Yeah,
I got a lot to say on that shit. I'll do my research too because, ooh, Lord.
Honestly,
I've done
a decent amount, I think, of reading on that, where it's like I'm confident to say my position on that. So I'd love to get into that. And yeah, that's just the reality of it. Like anything short of just jerking off these fucking weak ass leaders. I mean, that's how weak the leaders are. They're like, you guys didn't sit there and run stories about how hard what we did was and how awesome it was. It's like, bro, do they still have nukes or do they have the nuclear material or not? It's sad. Last I heard they do.
I'm a Kobe Bryant fan. I was raised by Kobe. I'm a Bean baby. Is the job finished?
Is the job
fucking finished? Is it
job
finished?
Not done?
It's not done. The job's not done. Trump, you're fired.
I need to get that on the soundboard. Job's
not done. So what are we talking about here? Are you kidding me?
Yeah, no. This is not Kobe mentality. This is some LeBron shit. You guys didn't talk about how great what I did was. Yeah,
fuck
all right.
You.
Got it, buddy. You didn't do shit.
You didn't do shit. They still got uranium.
You got drunk and probably high off your ass.
They got uranium
of our boys
60% because you didn't get the fucking job finished.
Yeah, quickly moving towards
failed. It's like LeBron losing to the Mavs in 2006. It's a failure.
That is the era we're in. It feels like. I don't even know. Like, yeah, this might be actually LeBron losing. I think this is actually LeBron losing to the Spurs. I think Biden was the Mavs.
Yeah, bad was bad, but poor Biden, poor
Joe. Joe was the Mavs.
It wasn't great. What they did to him at the tail end was blasphemy.
Yeah, this is the Spurs because remember LeBron beat the Spurs the first time, so it's like so Trump beating Biden was the beating the Spurs, and we had a moment where it's like, wow, is this shit about to really be like all-time great dynasty?
This is about to be a dynasty.
And then they turn around and
dynasty, bro. That's hey, you know what? He shit on his dynasty. That's perfect verbatim, bro.
He shitted on himself.
Oh my god, dude. He set himself up for a generational run, bro, and he shit
really
on it,
did,
dude.
yeah.
It's
so
I was telling people that. I've been telling people that. I'm like, listen, guys, I know y'all don't want to hear this, but he's literally tarnished his legacy within this last presidency. I mean, everything he's done, especially with these wars. Come on, man. You got people like this motherfucker talking for you. When you're sending people out like him, oh God.
Literally, Lord help us. Him and little Marco Rubio.
Yeah, bro. Marco Rubio got his name stay out here where we're at. We don't respect that motherfucker out here.
No, absolutely not. And by the way, Wiggy Wom says Goy, which is what the Israelites they call us. Goy or Gentile. Goy or Gentile refers to anything not God's chosen people.
Goyim means sheep.
Oh damn! Why does it sound so similar? Wiggy Wom also says he doesn't want to meet Jesus. He wants to enact God's plan. In his mind.
You talking about Netanyahu or
Pete Hexeth? We were just because when I was talking earlier and I was talking about them building the third temple that I understand that you might want
to. He said
Jesus
that too.
No, not like explicitly, but I mean that's like the kind of like I guess the conspiracy for why they're waging this war, which I mean, not really that much of a conspiracy. I mean, like the West Bank, the West Bank, they are annexing, and it's like that's real. So, just other people have drawn the inspiration from the religious text, and people have kind of made that connection.
Gentrifying the area so they could put more Jewish people, because they have like they keep bringing more in, so they got to find room, right? So, like this is what people have to that state. Point. They're literally taking territory. This is all a territory grab, and America's supporting it because we're making money on it. Trump is like 1 foot in, 1 foot out right now. He needs to take both his fucking feet out, dry them off, and understand you're not going back in the water. We're not doing that.
Or take both those feet and jump on fucking Netanyahu's chest like Bruce Lee did to fucking Chuck Norris.
I mean, yeah, bro. Like, if you want regime change, put some regime change in fucking Israel. They've had the same person there for 30 years, dude. 30 years.
I have heard that be suggested, and I think that's fair. And like maybe that's what the end of this war looks like. Like, hey,
bro, what problems have we had with the Ayatollahs? What problems have we personally had? America. You know what I'm saying? What have we had? Hamas. What personal problems have we had? You feel what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, we don't have personal issues with these people.
Well, so the argument is based around though that they're funding proxies that terrorist proxies that are,
and we funded the proxies too. We funded these terrorists directly, dude.
I mean, I feel you. I feel you. I think it's complicated, but here, let's get back to this video because, like I said, that's a whole other conversation. I feel you on that though.
No, I've looked that up with AI too. I've done my research, brother. I've done.
Very nice.
That's a rabbit hole. That's a rabbit hole that we can
tap in with ChatGPT on that. I love it.
I love it.
All right, here. This is he's about to get into like the stories they should have ran.
Successful. How many stories have been written about how hard it is to, I don't know, fly a plane for 36 hours? Has MSNBC done that story? Man. Has Fox? Have we done the story how hard that is? Have we done it 2 or 3 times? American people understand
That's the part I like the most. Not only does he want you to do the story, he wants you to do it 2 or 3 times. If that's not like just saying the quiet part of propaganda out loud, I don't know.
He said, "Make daddy a sandwich," is what he said.
He's not asking, like, he's not subtly asking if they've done propaganda. He's basically asking them, have you guys not done propaganda? He's just asking them straight up.
Do you need do you need me to teach you how to do your job? Like,
yeah, exactly.
How difficult it is to shoot a drone from an F-15 or 16 or F-22 or F-35.
Or whatever.
Or what it's like to man a Patriot battery.
It's got heat.
Or how hard it is to refuel midair. Giving the American people an understanding of how complex and sophisticated this mission really was. There are so many aspects of what our brave men and women did that, because of the hatred of this press corps, are undermined because people are trying to leak and spin that it wasn't successful. It's irresponsible.
Yeah, he's trying to basically use like the U.S. their emotional kind of appreciation for troops, and he's using that to kind of like shine that kind of sympathy onto the administration. That doesn't
You
deserve
piece
any
of
of
shit.
it. How hard is it to
troops didn't want to go?
Exactly. Well, that's the point. It's like how hard is it? You're talking about people whose lives, like genuinely, you put like these soldiers' life in danger, and other soldiers, other military personnel in the region, you put their life in danger. Why don't we ask about how hard it is to, or actually how easy it is to do what you do, which is hop in a fucking group chat, high out of your fucking mind, and just bloviate on, like, do you think we should bomb these guys today or not? I mean, they've literally had their group chat leaked because it's such an incompetent fucking bunch that you see how they discuss it. It really is disgusting. His behavior is perplexing until you put it into that religious perspective, because even analyzing it from the Marx capitalist systems, none of this makes sense. Global control engineering. It's really hard to analyze.
Brother? Are you a robot, Wiggy? What the fuck?
GPT, we're just talking to GPT. Yeah, no, Wiggy's the man. Come on, he said he has he told us his whole life. Fucking real estate doesn't develop. I mean, AI doesn't develop real estate, my brother.
Brother, we need you. You have a higher calling in life, brother. We need real estate's great. You're gonna make a lot of money doing that, but we need to get you around the smarter people running this country.
Bro, what the fuck? You can replace fucking Pete Hegseth. 100%.
Yeah, you could do his job 10 times better.
That's the problem. And not to say that you're not brilliant, Wiggy Wom, because I love chopping it up with you, but this is the reality, is that we almost, like, just if you get out in the world and you have real honest conversations with people, I find that I do end up running into people similar to like Wiggy Wom, where it's like I would trust him more with the responsibility and just the morality of running the country than the people that we end up not only electing, but the people we get to choose from. So it's like, how do we have millions of people in this country and then we end up choosing between Trump or fucking Kamala Harris? Like, I just don't understand that.
It was the worst lineup I've seen in my life. I mean,
before that, it was Biden. It's always that is the thing. Yeah. Like, you could kind of say
that was worse. You're right.
You could kind of say it wasn't that with Obama, for example. Although I have issues with Obama as well, but at least there was something to his campaign where it felt like it meant anything. You know what I mean? Like, it had any kind of like actual soul to it. It represented like a kind of like a point in where we were as a country, you know what I mean? Like, moving forward and things like that. Where every other president, there's nothing inspiring, in my opinion, about putting fucking Donald Trump in the office. Nothing inspiring about voting for Kamala Harris.
But there was with Trump, but he lost it because as soon as he got in there, he literally was like, "Well, we're gonna go to war, and yeah, we're gonna that green energy bill, we're gonna get rid of that, and yeah, we're gonna illegals on job sites, yeah, we're gonna go after them too." It's like, hold on, dude. Like, wait a minute. Like, do the things, yes, do the policies that we wanted, but do them in a way that makes sense, man. Like, it's just crazy. I don't believe you, Wiggy. I don't believe you, brother. But it's just crazy to me that at some point these guys just lose their course. And I don't think they lose their course. I think they get in there and they're told, listen, you're going to do this and you're going to like it, and maybe it's not that. Maybe the people that they have around them work against them that much that you have guys like Pete Hegseth that come out and say stupid shit like this on camera and try to emotionally toy on your hearts with American soldiers. It's like, bro, hold on. You're not going to make me feel bad about the soldiers you said to go do something I didn't want you to fucking do in the first place, you piece of shit. What kind of mental mind fuck are you trying to do on the country? You're better off doing MK Ultra.
And on top of that, he's even saying, like, if you get any information about this operation that may be construed as negative, then you shouldn't report that. You shouldn't report that. You should report just these kind of puff pieces about how hard it was what they did. Like, that's what I'm saying. It literally is. This is the authoritarian fucking weird shit where it's like he is actually on camera right now, and he thinks that this is a reasonable thing to be saying, to say you guys should be doing more propaganda. Why are you guys trying to tell the American people things we don't want them to know? Like, I could kind of understand this kind of shit happening behind closed doors in a way, just because people can act differently. But like I said, they're saying the quiet part out loud. He's able, they're empowered to sit on fucking TV and say this crazy shit and admonish our fucking press staff For, like I said, for what? There's times where I get it. Like sometimes they do fuck up and you can actually tear into them. They lie sometimes. But in a scenario where it's like they're just presenting whatever information that they have, like that's completely fucking psychotic for him to be
I
acting
thought
like.
it was hilarious when he went through all these different sources and like he just never gets to like he just rattles them off and it's like, all right, well, when were these published? Because this shit just happened. You're walking out here with this shit. Half these fucking press releasings are from across the world. So it's like when did they publish those across the world, right? And if Iran isn't letting people in, journalists in, if fucking Israel isn't letting people into those war zone sites and shit like that, how do you know what's really going on? And then they'll
Yeah.
tell you, oh, well, we believe the Mossad, but we don't believe Iran. It's like, well, hold the fuck on. Like, dude, what makes you believe anything? Oh, well, they're our ally. Okay, but they got the information wrong on October 7th. They also got the information wrong on the fucking supersonic missiles that bombed Tel Aviv. So what makes you think they're any more fucking credible than Iran is on the situation? And that's
Well,
like one thing Dave Smith talked about that I thought was such a great point. It's like the credibility war that people try to play is just such a fucking bullshit game to just try to dismiss the information people get.
yeah, I think with this scenario, another thing that's kind of like harmful is that through everything that he's addressing, he's not actually addressing the merit of the reporting. So so still we get all of this and we don't get any, like, if you're going to say that they're bullshitting and this report's coming out because, there's some kind of like conspiracy against Trump and they want to make him look bad, then, and it's not true, then why don't you then come out and then dispel it? Why don't you come out and then address it? Be like, okay, this is lies. We did, knock out their entire nuclear program. This is the proof that we do have to share with you. Based
Where are
on
the pictures?
Exactly. It's like, or just like any real concrete evidence. He's not even addressing that. He's actually just sitting there saying like,
and it's
look, we did.
bullshit. If there was uranium, you wouldn't bomb it. You would go in and fucking get it. Be real. You're gonna send the SEALs in. You're gonna go take the shit, and you're gonna be happy about it. You're not going in and fucking just leveling a base that's fucking 100 meters underground. Like, give me a break, dude. It's just in a mountain. Like, you mean these people can they don't have fucking nukes, but they building a base 100 meters down in a mountain? Come on,
Yeah.
bro. Like,
Hey.
and I know Iranians are good. I'm not disrespecting you guys. I know you guys are great. You have great scientists and engineers over there, but it's just like resources, technology. Like it does nothing. None of that adds up. Like 100 meters
What?
down to where we have to
Well,
send 2 bunker buster bombs to get down there. Come on, man.
so one thing that I heard, and then I got to get into these comments real quick, but one thing that I heard was that they knew that they weren't going to be able to actually destroy the nuclear program, and their idea was to bomb the area, make it where basically it collapses in on itself, so it's very difficult to get to, and then any time that somebody is basically trying to like unearth whatever down there, they can just bomb the site again and not allow them to retrieve whatever they have down there. But some of the reports that they're talking about that Pete Hegseth is pissed about is where they're talking about that the nuclear material had already been moved a few days previously. There were a few trucks that were seen outside of the facility and they were supposedly moving and then also Iran has said like, hey, we have more nuclear sites and they said they already moved it, but who knows who's telling the truth? Part of that is just
nuke them. If that's the case, you don't want to have nukes. Nuke them then. If you're Mr. Brass Balls, then get out there and nuke them.
I don't agree with that, but I feel you. But let me just get to these comments.
Not us. I'm not saying us. I'm saying the big boys out there that they have the brass balls. They think they're hot shit. Then go ahead and take care of your business. You want those nukes gone? Then go ahead. You know what I'm saying? You got 90 of them.
I feel that, but then it's just like that's our country that's complicit in that. But like I feel you. I get what you're saying.
No, that's Israel. That's gonna be Israel. They got 90 of their own nukes that they're hiding.
Gotcha. Okay. Which is another interesting topic as far as like, as if we're doing nuclear disarmament, do we end up like really putting the pressure on it? I mean, I'm sure we don't, but it makes a lot of sense to me. I've heard talked about through this process, like if Iran's going to give up their nukes, then maybe we should really press Israel on the nukes that they're claiming they don't have, but we know they have. So Wiggy here says, it's really hard to analyze today's world with taking into account that religious perspective. Typically, game theory tells us of the great power. My bad. It's the play thing is blocking it, so I can't see what you said here. Game theory tells us of the great power struggle, but does very little to cover the philosophical, religious worldviews, good, evil, the understanding of it. And then he said, nope, I'm just a dude. We know that's not true, brother. And also, even if you are just a dude, that is kind of, in a way, like, I think that perspective is really needed. Like, people that actually have had real life experience. I mean, that's one of the reasons I really honestly couldn't get on board with Trump. It's like, I don't think he's ever actually lived a true American experience, to be honest. Like, he's so insulated from his wealth and things of that nature. We need people that like kind of like have come up through a more just a traditional path, you know what I mean, and actually have to deal with normal people on a normal level. Not having everybody around them be subservient to them based off of their name.
Yes, man.
Which maybe that is you, Wiggy Wom, because I know you did say that your family like kind of like help establish the town that you live in and stuff. So, but still, like I said, point being is like, you know, it's an underrated actual skill and perspective is people that can actually, you know, reference what it's like to actually, you know, come up and deal with the adversity that Americans deal with.
That's what's sad, bro. I thought he was putting a bunch of experts around him that like had like some real time experience, like dealing with these shits diplomatically and like finding resolutions that made sense for everybody. Like, I thought he was putting deal makers around him, and like people that get shit done. And it just seemed like once again, you know, he fucked up and he failed with his candidacy, you know, and I felt like he rushed it this time. But, and I was saying it back then, I said there's a couple people around him, there's people there that he shouldn't have, because they're going to push him to do shit based on their fucking greed, you know? And once again, we're back in this situation where we got Pete Hegseth on there fucking stroking his own ego, trying to make himself sound like he's a patriot, as he just fucking was backing our president to send innocent Americans to die for a base that we couldn't even fucking destroy in the first place. It's like, what are we doing?
And on behalf of Israel, that's another thing that can't get lost in this. Is like, this is, and I know we're not losing that, but it's like, this is not a war that, like, Iran's not really a threat to us right now. So we're going out of our way to involve ourselves directly in a war that Israel is involved in. I mean, if that's the case, then why not get involved in the war with Russia directly? Honestly, I mean, I'm not suggesting that's the case. I think we shouldn't in either, but if we're going to be involved in this one, the war that Ukraine's entrenched in is way more justified than what Israel's doing. Like, Israel's in a complete war. That's a completely offensive war. So right here, Wiggy says, bro, he said way worse in front of a Senate committee hearing about Bible shit. And then he quotes him. He says, don't trust any book but the Bible. That's a quote from Hegseth.
As he's throwing coke off bitches' titties and fucking railing lines of crack. It's like, Jesus Christ, dude.
Fucking sticking fucking goddamn fucking nightsticks in their pussies. Wiggy Wog here. There is no physical way our ballistic capped gravity bombs did a damn thing about that base. And then we got granite is harder than steel. It doesn't take much to guess at the efficacy of what happened, which is shitty. He's saying it wasn't effective. Wiggy Wom says, if we dropped it on a vent, it didn't do anything. We have no way of knowing the ventilation system diverted path going down. So, yeah, that's even more that's even more of the case. And this is, I guess, the bigger conversation that we were talking about. We wanted to get into at some point, Deuce, as far as like, were they able to degrade the nuclear facilities? It's like, if you went and you did that action and then it actually wasn't effective, that's such a crazy miscalculation. And like, you put us in such a vulnerable position going forward. And then now that you're trying to make peace with them, it's so fucking crazy. It's like, you bombed them, you failed. Like, hey, let's be cool. Like, you know, and we talked about this in the chat for sure. It's like, if they weren't making a nuclear bomb fucking before this, bro.
I'm doing it now.
Ayatollah himself is he's in a physics textbook right now.
Bro,
He's
he's
like,
sitting there chiseling fucking USA on the side of that bitch. Jesus
bro, he's sitting
Christ.
there. He's like, well, shit, maybe I should bone up on my fucking nuclear
Dude,
bomb physics.
and this is what I try to tell people. I'm like, and because people are like, oh no, we got to, da da da. I'm like, man, see, this is the problem, bro. You got to understand when you get in other people's shit like this, dude. When you get into like other countries' conflicts like this that are this volatile, only thing that you do is put a target on your back,
Sure.
especially when you're the only reason why that fucking country can even do what they're doing in the first place. Like, people just don't understand that concept. And then what happens is when American lives are lost because we get now put under the fucking, get put in the fucking scope and the fucking line sights, uh Iran and all the terrorist proxies they fund, that Israel helped propped up at some point so they could use that as an excuse to fucking sit there and have endless wars in the region. Like, all that stuff is so evident, dude. Like, and people are like, oh, why would a country, why would the governments do that? People have like this misconception of like governments for some reason. Like, they don't have like people in there that may possibly like have their own motives and want to have their own like disingenuous propaganda that they spew. Like, it's just kind of nuts to me, man. I really don't understand it. It kind of is backwards, this positive happy-go-lucky view that the government's just there to protect you and do everything that you want and need. It's so fake. It's like, dude, no. If you look at governments around the world, they get toppled all the time. They change over all the time for corruption because people revolt and have revolutions and shit. It's like America has not had that because our system is constructed very well, but Israel is not America.
Brother,
You know?
you can hear me?
Yeah.
My shit died.
I figured. I was holding it
Yeah.
down, brother. I was holding it down.
No, I appreciate you. Let's see here. I'm trying to see if I had my headphones, I could throw my headphones on. But what do I got here? I want to make sure I read everybody's comments. Um, so Jay here said, you aren't going to divert ventilation into areas you aren't ventilating. I'm not going to put a vent under my house. That's it there. Yeah. And then, hey, shout out to you, by the way, Jay. We've been live for a little bit. My laptop just died, so and the shit's plugged in. By the way, I just want to be very clear.
Boy's going crazy.
Like, what? I don't even know what's going on with that. He said, let's see here. I mean, Trump in a way turned me into a Nazi. Oh, holy shit.
Oh, we got to finish that one, brother. Don't leave him like that.
Good.
Don't leave him like that.
Yeah, maybe we shouldn't have read maybe we should have just dropped it where we left it. All right, so it turned me into a Nazi. So I guess people calling him Hitler were right in some weirdo logic. Not the whole race thing, but in socioeconomic sense. Okay, fair enough. I mean,
Brother,
because
that's above my pay grade, brother. I can't answer that one.
well, so the Nazis when they first came in, they were National Socialists. But and I'm sure Wiggy Wan probably knows the history to this, but a lot of that was actually to kind of it was to undermine the kind of push towards communism and things like that, because it was already gaining some traction there. So it was in the effort to like kind of meet people and give kind of the perception that they were, kind of moving in the same direction that the politics were headed. But Jay said the United States is way past worrying about having a target on their back. Well, I think you're probably right about that.
Yeah, at this point, yeah, Trump's a fucking
Yeah,
idiot.
I think you're probably totally right. They've accepted that shit, which is unfortunate. Yeah, 100%. I mean, I think I'm disgusted in what capitalism has created, and I think that's totally fair. I think like the wealth distribution of the disparity in the country, and then on top of that, I think like in just some industries, I think it just is completely incoherent. We talked about it earlier before you hopped on, Deuce, as far as the medical industry, and I think I've had conversations with a lot of people who I would consider conservative or more conservative than me, anyways, that are able to get on board with socializing things like medicine. So I think we've come a long way, and I think what a lot of these words mean or have meant, it's not necessarily the best descriptor for where we're at as a society as a whole, if that makes sense. because I mean, I was talking to Cody and we were talking about that, and he was like, I want to think about that on my own more and kind of consider that. But he was saying that he's hardcore conservative, but he's like, I had made the point as far as like the profit motive for in medicine just doesn't it's just not compatible with the Hippocratical oath that they take as doctors and things to do no harm. Once you're considering the profit that you're able to make, and that's part of the decision that you're making, it's already
it's corrupt.
Yeah, it's already
corrupt as
corrupted
fuck.
that kind of that mindset. Yeah,
You
so
can't have that. You can't. I agree with you.
yeah,
Like, I don't think you can necessarily. Like, yeah, I do agree with you. I don't know if you can necessarily have a for-profit system in certain areas of like for society. Like, I think healthcare, you shouldn't have a for-profit system, but there is downsides to it, like,
agreed.
longer waits for surgeries and care and shit like that. So I think you have to like find another way to incentivize like people to do their jobs, or just hold them accountable for not doing their jobs properly in those systems where they're getting taken care of very well. But I can get behind some social stuff, man. Like,
Yeah,
I think you should have social programs. I'm a big believer is we should have better ones. We should have ones that make more sense for people to help them do better and not keep them sustained or down in a certain position, because that's a big problem with them now is they're kind of outdated, dude. They got to be updated. But it's just
yeah.
you created them years ago and it's like it's a different society now. So
I
I can get behind a lot of
yeah.
that. It's just, you know, there's some stuff I can't, but there's some stuff, dude, where I don't really see is wrong. Like healthcare, we already pay for. It's just
Yeah.
the system we have now, like you said, is for profit. We pay insurance
Yeah.
companies, then the government pays insurance companies, and then it's like, well, what the fuck is the
No,
point?
I agree with you. Let me just use this as an example because I'm just kind of curious your opinion on it. So it's like sometimes I think like the political powers that be or whatever. Obviously, we just watched Pete Hegseth and him just literally be dishonest with his framing, and just the whole thing was the perfect example of this kind of like political game. Um, but there's plenty of things that we enjoy that are socialist in nature that we just don't even think about. Because they're things that have always been. So like things like the fire
Yeah.
department, for example. Like, could you imagine that the fire department gets a call, for example, and gets two calls actually, and then they look at the two calls, and then one person's willing to pay them $500 to come put their fire out. The other person's willing to pay them $10,000 to come put their fire out. So then they go put out the fire that's the $10,000 fire. Like, does that make any sense with being a firefighter, or apply that to being a police officer as well? Like, there
No.
already are things that exist in our society that are funded by the social kind of construct that we have in society,
Right.
and we're okay with it because it just already existed. So to scare us away from asking more of our government, in my opinion, they use things like, well, that's socialist, you shouldn't even consider it, it's not American. Is it not okay? So is it fucking Israeli to have free healthcare? Because they do. You know what I'm
Germany
saying?
has it.
These places are all democracies. So it's like
I
you don't
agree.
have to. Yeah. So it's like you could be a democracy and still have a more robust social safety net. And
I agree with that
and I
completely.
think we could all come. I think we could all be on board with how we facilitate that. We should not be spending all the money we're spending, keeping up with this kind of like global imperialist project that we're involved
Yeah,
in.
because that the problem is we got to get rid of the social ones we have now, but we need to also, before we do that, come up with better ones. Like it just that I agree with you. The whole thing, like we can't implement some social practices, because like I believe you need balance. And right
Yeah.
now, if you look at society, capitalism doesn't have a balance system to where the balance system is if people can pull themselves up a little bit easier in society, then guess what? Now there's going to be more corporations and companies to compete with all these other big ones now. Now there's a
Yeah.
more competitive market, you know what I'm saying? Which is what you need because capitalism only works in competitive markets. Once
Yeah.
the markets aren't competitive anymore, capitalism it has failed because now one person is controlling and dictating everything.
I was actually
People don't
no.
understand that concept, but that's something
I
that
agree
I've
with
been
what you're
talking
saying.
about.
Yeah, I want to actually allow you to say whatever you want to say on that because I think that's a great point. And I agree with you. That's why it gets conflated sometimes. People like that whole position similar to me, like I just hate capitalism or something, which I don't. It's just a matter of I don't think that the version of capitalism that we have today is like some pure form of capitalism. It's
No, it's
like
not.
I mentioned earlier, the crony capitalism. It's not based off of merit or what you're able to provide. It's based off relationships. And actually, in the point that we're at today, the game's already been cooked to a large extent to where you have actual monopolies that exist, and we just, even though it's an illegal thing, we act like it doesn't exist. I mean, how many
Well,
of
they're
our
family members. That's why they're not considered monopolies. How you can? That's just my family. I'm not talking business. I'm just going to have dinner. I
yeah
don't know what he's doing with his company next quarter. It just so happened that we bought from the same fucking manufacturer that gave us a discounted price so we can come in and undercut the market. We didn't
yeah
know that that was going to be what set us up 5 trillion ahead of everybody else as AT&T and fucking Verizon. You know what I'm saying? It's just shit like that to where you got to get it more competitive because like you shouldn't have fucking 4 weapons manufacturers in America. You should have 30 to 50 big weapons manufacturers, right? That way they can't just lobby the same politicians to get in office. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta competitive mark like people competing against each other keeps balance and it keeps people honest and it keeps companies true. If you're not going to have that, you're going to have a corrupt system where everybody sits behind closed rooms and just makes backdoor deals. And then everything is just controlled so much that it's almost impossible to bring your company from next to nothing to a multi-million-dollar company,
yeah
like because the game's already set, like you said, it's already controlled.
yeah
So, and I don't think that's every market, but I think what we have now is we have in the most important markets, that's where we're at. Technology sector, right? Entertainment, even with sports, because that's a big money-making industry that can change
yeah
infrastructures and communities. It's like these news outlets, I mean, everything where you could always consider being able to make money has like this cabal over it, overseeing and gatekeeping who gets to play and who gets to fucking sit on the sideline. And it's like, it's got to change for America to move forward, and it's just sad because you need a president to do it. And in my honest opinion, we just don't have any of those. It's like, you need a prince to step up and save the kingdom. We don't have any of those.
yeah
We don't have any Javier Malays, in the waitings. We don't. It's just not what we got, man. We got a fucking bunch of yes men who are gonna sit there and cuck.
yeah. I wish that we got to finish that video. I mean, I understand it's the middle of the week, so if you end up like going to bed at a decent time tonight, I get it. I might
Oh,
end
you
up
good,
going
bro?
live in a little bit though, just to finish those videos. When I'm able to charge my laptop, so we'll be back on here just for a heads up. Just that I had some videos on there that I wanted to react to, so it's like I got to go ahead and just react to them anyways. But so we have Wiggy here says profit is wonderful if it goes to the right shareholders, which he says we the people, and in the sense of the country, I think that's totally fair. Crassus of Rome literally made his fortune mortgaging people's homes that were on fire with his private firefighter force of slave workers. There you go. I hop off the stream with you, and I gotta go look up a bunch of different shit.
Yeah, bro. You're gonna go make me fucking research Rome, Julius Caesar,
Yeah,
all types of shit.
we definitely gotta dive into
The
Rome heavily.
Colosseum.
Yeah,
Fucking.
yeah, 100%. Like I said, I do have some other shit, so I'll probably be back on here in a little bit. I just got to charge this fucking laptop, and I'm going to charge it full, so we don't have that issue again. So Wiggy, if I know you're in Texas, so you might still be rocking around. I'm gonna try to get back on here. I don't want to disappoint anybody if I don't, though, because I don't know how long this is going to take to charge. But Deuce, I appreciate you, brother, and I
Of
even
course,
hate to
brother.
cut. I hate to cut it because really we're vibing, and I love the vibe, but.
No, we're
Um,
rolling. We're rolling.
yeah,
No,
I
but
just
just send me a text, bro. Send me the link. I'll
yeah,
jump
yeah.
back on.
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
be up.
definitely. Well, I'll try to be back on here before 1 o'clock, and then I'm also not gonna try to go too crazy with it because I have like I want to say like because I got some Pierce Morgan videos to react to, so those shits be like
Ooh,
an hour long. But sometimes I
yeah.
got to cut them short. The other day he had Bill O'Reilly on there, and I had to cut his ass off. I was like, no fucking thank you. You haven't had
Yes.
anything. You haven't had anything good to say for fucking 50 years, bro. No thanks.
Yeah,
Um,
it's like, yeah, we're tired of all that. No
yeah, yeah.
thanks.
I want to educate myself, but I also realize my time is finite and it's valuable. You know what I'm saying? So I got to do both.
Yeah,
Um,
sometimes you just can't let them take up all your time with the fuck shit.
exactly
It's
right.
like,
Wiggy Wom said weapon manufacturers should be owned by the people or state directly. Well, that's interesting. Okay, it's what
that's a good point.
capitalists. That's a really interesting point. It's what capitalists despise the most: the unification of military direction and control of economic systems. That's really interesting. Yeah, I actually haven't heard that proposed before, and I think that that makes a lot of sense actually, and would prevent them from being just used, like thoughtlessly. And then Wiggy says Russian weapon manufacturers are directly state owned. The profit goes to state coffers. Very interesting. And then he said, "Word, y'all stay chill." Absolutely, brother. We will. Like I said, I'm gonna try to hop back on here. I'll hit Deuce up.
Damn, man.
I'll probably definitely go live tomorrow, Deuce. I don't know. So maybe I'll do that instead. I don't know. I hate that because I really shouldn't keep the audience up in
Oh,
the
you
air
might
on
want to
that.
keep him teasing, keep teasing him a little bit, bro. You know,
Hey, just stay tuned. You feel what I'm saying? It could go at any
stay on
time.
your toes, baby. Stay on your
Yeah.
toes. See that notification drop, jump in. You know.
Definitely hit the notifications. Hit the notification bell. Make sure you know when it's going down. I also, we have some other people, some other creators that we've been fucking with. I can hop on their shit and cause some
Couple
problems.
wild boys,
Uh,
couple wild boys for
Very
sure.
wild boys. Go check them out. My guy King Cobra over there, and go check him out. Many Smooth Recoil for gaming. We met a
Yeah,
bunch of
big
cool people
smooth,
along the way. We
big
met a bunch
smooth,
of
baby.
Yeah, we met a bunch of great people along the way. Wiggy Wom, man, you obviously at the top of the list, man. We've been vibing, and I definitely appreciate your attention to the topics
Wiggy Rom's a
and the
robot,
vibe.
bro. He's a robot. I'm sticking by that shit. You know what I'm saying?
No,
That
he's
my boy be
definitely
spitting out facts like crazy. I be like, God damn.
yeah, he's reached a higher level of consciousness for sure. He's on a completely different realm. But when we get on, so either way, if I hop on here later tonight or if we get in here tomorrow, we will have the like death to the IDF shit. We're gonna talk about that. Although I might not have it on the title because I think that might have fucked me tonight a little bit. I'm telling you, bro. If I put anything to do with
Oh
Israel in
no,
the
no.
title,
It's,
they put us in the recycling bin, and like
I'm trying to tell you, bro.
it's only
Like,
the
if
most
people don't
dedicated.
see that propaganda, if they don't, people don't see the shadiness. I don't listen. Like, it's out there. You know what I'm saying? It's out there. The evidence is out there, guys. You got to do your research, I guess. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
don't let
Hey,
us be the one to tell you.
come to your own conclusions. Don't blindly tail. Don't blindly tail. Come to your own conclusions. Do your own research. And it's good when we get in here and we're able to politic and go back and forth and see what's what. But Wiggy Wom, you're the man. Everybody else, Kitty Powders, anybody else that hopped in here, Deuce, you're the man as well. Thank you for hopping in,
Of
getting in the
course, brother.
comments, and getting on camera.
Yeah,
And I
man.
will
It's always good time, brother. Always fun, man.
100%, my brother. And we'll tap in later, or like I said, tomorrow. You're always welcome, brother. It's always a good vibe.
Of
So
course,
we'll see.
brother. Of course, man. We'll tap in, man. Love, bro.
100%. We'll see you. Much love, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right.
Peace.